but I've got a lot of questions. We'll discuss them first, and then we'll talk about the previous year questions, and then we will go about talking about what is the answer writing concept. So we have to first take the doubts. Then we will go into previous year questions. Then we will talk about answer writing. I'll talk about directive words and how to approach. So these are the three agendas for this session generally. And whilst we are doing all of this, you can also ask me questions, but not right now. Once I've covered the questions, thereafter I'll take the questions which are in the chat box. So I asked you to email your doubts, and that is what we are going to take first. Good morning. First, Ganesh, are you here? The students have to be here. Ganesh, are you here? Ganesh Kakkad. Very good, Ganesh. Then Prince Rathore. Yes, perfect. Prasanna Vikram. So Ganesh first, you, then Prince, then Prasanna is here. No, maybe joining. And okay, then Shreyank. Good morning. Shreyank is here. Still not joined. Okay. Anshika, you're here. You just said good morning. Anshika, you're here, right? You have four emails from you. Madhumita. No. They'll join. Alina just said good morning. Okay, you're here. Purva. Yes, sir. Great. And Vechri. Okay. Yatindra. Not here. Ilma. So this is the sequence in which the doubts have come to me. I am going to take them in the same sequence. So Ganesh is here, and for everybody's understanding, yes, Shreyank, perfect. I asked you, you just joined. Okay, yes, Shreyank, I also have yours. So Ganesh, question is, there's a sheet in front of me. I'm reading that out from you, sir. Can you explain the World War II in brief? I am scared to write answers. Why is it so? Sir, could you not understand? I could not understand unification of Germany. Can you tell me in brief? So Ganesh, you want me to repeat 2 modules in brief? Okay. So how brief I need to be? How brief I need to be, Ganesh? Little bit, a lot. So let's first take world history has been completed for this batch. Yes. Yesterday was a teaching class. Today is a doubt session. Just small. Okay. So first let's talk about unification Germany. Till we'll look at these questions later. First, in not 1800, let's take 1700. There's no Germany in Italy. And though there is German language speaking areas, Italian speaking areas, they're not together. So their unification was difficult because of multiple obstacles. geographical, cultural, religious. So the first person who basically is able to unify them in a rudimentary way is after the French Revolution, who is Napoleon. So between 1804 and 1814, Napoleon plays a very important role in giving both of them a certain type of unity. From the Holy Roman Empire, he makes it 314 into 39. On the other hand, in Italian states, he discomplicates this area from 5 powers to 3 powers. Thereafter, 1814, once he's removed or he's lost to Waterloo in 1814-15, you will have what is called the Metternich Order. Metternich Order in Germany translates into a new arrangement, which is the 39 states plus Prussia plus Austria. That leads to rivalry. That rivalry is important because Prussia wanted to unify. They will introduce Zollverein. The revolution of 1848 will happen. Thereafter, because revolution of 1848 was not successful, the man who will unify Italy is going unify Germany is going to be Bismarck, who will then basically isolate Austria by giving help to Russia, explaining to the French and the British a weak Austria is important. Austrian War, thereafter what we call as the Franco-Prussian War, and unification of Germany happens. Unification of Italy, on the other hand, is the other side of the story. Therein, you have the Mazzini and Garibaldi movement starting as soon as Metternich comes through. Once Metternich comes through, they start to struggle between 1815 and 1848 until 1860. Nothing really happens. Cavour then unifies the northern sector by going into a agreement with France, fighting with Austria, then plebiscite central Italy, then peasant movement southern Italy, and the papal areas when France was going through a revolution again in 1870. This is the briefest I can be about the Germany and Italy unification. Now, what is World War II in brief? You want me to explain you the causes or the story of World War? Which part? Ganesh. Alina, keep that thought with you. Once I've covered these questions, you post this question again. Don't post questions right now because I'll not be able to see them. It will go up in the chat. So I'll ask you, write your questions now in the chat box and we'll discuss them. You want causes. Causes is basically the Great Depression, which creates the context for socialism to become bigger and for Hitler to use it to come to power. Second would be Treaty of Versailles, resentment in Italy and Germany, which creates these dictators, Hitler and Mussolini. Then third is the messed up map of Central Europe, which is basically fragile democracies, which Hitler is going to use to come to power. Fourth is policy of appeasement of France and Britain, which is they are basically feeling guilty of the Treaty of Versailles. And last but not the least is the false sense of security which the League of Nations gave, and all these things. We have to discuss previous year questions, Karaku. First questions, then previous year questions, then answer writing. I have to do that. I know that. Don't have to worry. So Ganesh, answer writing I'll discuss when I will discuss answer writing in the end. So that part I will answer. Most probably the thing which scares you is because you're not practicing. The students who don't start feel scared. Once you start to write, it's like driving a car. Initially there will be a little bit of jitters, thereafter you will start to love it. And that way answer writing is, the story is, if you need to remove that fear, you have to write more. Yes? Okay. Done? All three questions, Ganesh, I've answered for you. Now I move to Prince. Why was there no fight for the throne in England like in India? Why was there so much internal stability in England? See, Prince, it's not that, is Prince here? Yes. And it's not that there was no fighting in England for thrones, but the fighting is actually in the Middle Ages. So there is the War of Roses. There are multiple rebellions which happen, which is technically not part of your syllabus. There is the conflict with Ireland. At the end of the day, England is basically United Kingdom. So Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and the English sector or the England sector. And there are multiple wars which are happening with Scotland also, with Ireland also, with Wales also. But the point is that their timing was very good because they are politically unstable when most of Europe was in feudalism. And what happens is that on the turn of the 17th century, they basically have what is called as the Glorious Revolution. That is, the glorious revolution is that they call it bloodless revolution, in which they will basically transition from a monarchy to a constitutional monarchy. So when nationalism will be rising in Europe, or for example in India, we will always keep on having succession battles. When nationalism was rising, the English sector had already become very stable because they were now under the parliamentary control. And more than that, in England, there was a very important concept that when it came to succession, women had the right to succeed. If it was only king, then it would have been problematic, which is the state, that is why the whole Austrian War of Succession and the 7 Years' War. That is technically not true for Britain. In Britain, the queen, the daughter could also succeed. And if you have any idea, it's not that they did not have any form of conflict. You have Henry VIII, who basically married a woman. He did not like that woman. In order to divorce that woman, he made England an Anglican state, which is a Protestant state. And the daughter which was born out of this marriage is called Mary. And when Mary was born, the first thing which she did was started to torture her father only. So that's why she called Bloody Mary. So there is a lot of internal conflict. But the problem is, or the good thing is, that it's happening when Europe itself is in disarray. So when England is in full form, Europe was now in disarray. So there's a timing difference. And the fact that the Glorious Revolution was basically done by 1700, that is going to be a very important moment, and that will allow them to be one step forward in that sense. Clear, Prince? Vanshika, anybody who's asking me questions, I told you, don't ask me questions right now because I'm looking at a question sheet here. I'll ask you to write your questions again. Don't worry. Once we're done this, then we'll move to the previous questions. Then we'll move to answer writing. Got it. Perfect. So Prasanna is here. Prasanna. Prasanna Vikram SL. Acha, you're Vikram. Okay, writing with Vikram. Okay, Vikram. Can you summarize the significance of World War I and II on one slide, sir? Also suggest some books for our interest for whole history. See, you want significance of World War I and World War II. See, World War I significance is it gave birth to the Treaty of Versailles, which gave birth to fragile democracies, which gave birth to League of Nations, which gave birth to the Russian Revolution, which gave birth to socialism. So basically, all the causes of the Second World War are basically the significance of the First World War. And the Second World War significance would be Cold War, decolonization, the concept of USA versus USSR politics, which is nothing but Cold War, but we write it separately. And you will also have the Third World, which will be born. The fact that Germany will get divided. So basically, if you explain the Cold War, you automatically explain the significance of the Second World War. That is the point. So in a way, both the significances are connected to each other. This is the causes of this war. And this is nothing but Cold War. Right, Vikram? Also says some books for our interest. See, no, Chinese evolution, not important for you. Korean War, I've already told you what I need to tell you. Global South versus Global North. Yes. Okay, perfect. Now, the next is what you want to read for history. See, my biggest suggestion is going to be, the problem with fiction is it's too much fiction. You can watch certain movies. It will generally give you a good understanding of what we call as the Holocaust or the Second World War, the First World War. And the Americans have been very, very, very that way generous in making movies. So I for example, would suggest if you are really interested, that for example, for the First World War, you will not find a lot of movies. You will not find a lot of movies. Rather, you can watch Jojo Rabbit. You can watch Schindler's List, but warning, this is an graphic movie. It's on concentration camps. You can watch Stalingrad. You can watch Bridge of Spies. That's a very good movie, Bridge of Spies, for Cold War politics. And thereafter, you can also watch, for example, Inglorious Bastards. This is a this is fiction, counterfactual fiction, but it shows the power of the Germans quite a lot. Then you can watch Dunkirk. Then you can also watch Pianist. Uh, Multiple movies that way. Any other movie anybody wants, others who've seen or want to suggest? Saving Private Ryan. Fury is a web series, right? Web series. Chernobyl you can watch. Why not? Chernobyl tells you the story of the what changed Gorbachev. Pianist, Dunkirk. Yes, Pearl Harbor you can watch. Lot of movies. They have been very comprehensive in making these movies. Yes, Napoleon. If you can, Napoleon. There's a movie which is coming through, but the problem would be that it's a French movie, so subtitles you would need. Yes, Hacksaw Ridge is also good. Hacksaw Ridge. There's also if you Oppenheimer, sure, why not? There's one more very old series. It's called Blackadder. Blackadder for the First World War part is very, very interesting. It tells you the life of the trenches. This is also Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, who was the actor. You'll find it on YouTube. It's a very old series. It's a comedy, but basically, yes, Enigma, Imitation Game. 1917 is also a very good movie. Yes, that one. So they say multiple movies are there. You can, for example, if you want to read a book, there's called The Third Reich, William Shirer. It's also a good book, but it's a very bulky book, 2,000 pages. I'm not asking you to mandatorily see these movies. Most of these movies, see, this would be all American agenda. All would be American agenda. See, Pianist, Stalingrad, Schindler's List, and for example, Saving Private Ryan, Fury, Pearl Harbor would be American perspective. On the other hand, Jojo Rabbit is about indoctrination of the Nazis. 1917 Imitation Game is from the British perspective. Dunkirk is again from the British perspective. Chernobyl shows you the corruption in Russia. Oppenheimer is again American perspective. Blackadder is British perspective. Napoleon again would be the story of Napoleon. Hawkshaw Ridge shows you the ravages of what we call as war. So there are multiple. Lagan is not for world history, right? Okay. So totally your call. Can I now move to Shreyank? Shreyank, good enough, Vikram? Yes? You want to watch The Crown? I'm not asking, don't start to binge watch these and say that sir told me to do it. Please don't do that. I am not saying you to watch all these movies. You want to watch, you watch. You don't want to watch, you don't watch. But do not start to watch them and binge watch and say, sir, your Abhishek sir said that I have to binge watch whole Crown today. No. Now, first question is, what was the impact of the First World War on the Indian freedom struggle? Rank this, you should know this already. 1914 to 1918. What is the impact on Indian freedom struggle? So you have the Sikhs who are going to get recruited for the war itself. In this 1915, Gandhi has come back, and the Kheda issue was all because of the war itself. because of the way the British were sending a lot of grains out of India, and they were not ready in that sense to give the what we call as plague bonus in that sense. Thereafter, the biggest impact of the Second World War is the 1915 Defense of India Act. Tomorrow I start modern India in evening batch, Defense of India Act 1915. Thereafter, the Rowlatt Satyagraha and the Rowlatt Act itself is related to the First World War. Then, if that is the case, then Jallianwala Bagh becomes the same. Jallianwala Bagh, we discussed this in class. Called the Amritsar violence. Then internationally, Ghadar movement. So, from forced recruitment of the Sikhs to Amritsar violence to Jallianwala Bagh to Defense of India to Rowlatt Satyagraha to Gandhi coming back to Kheda, Ahmedabad, and what we call as Champaran to Sikhs, Khilafat, yes. Khilafat that gets linked to NCM. Khilafat is related to Treaty of Severus, straightforward Turkey. So this is something, and I'll show you a question. See, this type of question came once. I'll show you a question. 1 second. See, in 2014, they asked this type of question also. What were the major political, economic, and social developments of the world which motivated anti-colonial struggle in India? When I'll discuss this question with you, previous year question 2014, I'll discuss what you can write. Everything which is happening in modern India is intricately linked to the story of the world history. That is why I say that when you study world history, your modern India automatically becomes better, because you have context for everything, from Quit India to August Offer to Cripps Mission to everything. So we'll talk about that when we'll look at that question. Thereafter, the way major powers like Britain and France checked the growth and dominance of Germany, why can't they repeat same with China? Because the world has changed. Because the world is not colonial. So Britain and France forcefully did what they did. War is not an option now, because now war is going to be nuclear war. And the biggest point is, if you kill China, then who will supply your laptops, tablets? Who will supply your cheap toys? If you kill the supplier, then Britain and France itself will get destroyed by killing the supply out of China itself. Firstly, that is not the way geopolitics is done today. That is not the way you do geopolitics, because today there's a biggest deterrences. All of these are nuclear powers. And if you're a nuclear power, any form of intervention would mean that it would lead to a nuclear holocaust, which is nothing. Nobody wants that. And second is, as I said, China is so integrated into everybody's economy that you will not kill your supply. You see how Russia economic sanction did not impact Russia that much, but backfired on the European sector itself. So this world is too connected, and it's much more complicated than you actually think. Okay. What is the role of China and how did it become such an important power? See, Shank, again, between 1945 and 1970, the role of China in the Second World War was nothing really. The Japanese were very aggressive on the Chinese, and it is basically a separate theater altogether, which is Japan versus China. So most of the Chinese casualties which you see is because of the Japanese rampaging through China itself. And more than that, the Japanese, in a way, occupied China also for a very long time. Though it is not part of your syllabus. No, yes, role in Second World War I'm discussing. Though it is not part of your syllabus in that sense, what happens is that the Chinese were in a civil war between what we call as Chiang Kai-shek, which is KMT, and you have Mao on the other hand, which is the communists. However, when the Japanese occupy China and start to now fight, this civil war stops, and now both Chiang Kai-shek and the Red Army, which is basically Mao, come together, and they then fight with Japan for a very long time. And their role is nothing more. They're not an international power right now. However, the point is that this rise of prominence of China is because of how US wanted China to become important after 1970. So the geopolitics which you see today, after 1970, before 1970, US used to recognize the government which is now in Taiwan, which is the Chiang Kai-shek government, KMT government. But after 1970, what happened was, with the shift of China away from the USSR, for the first time, now Britain will follow, or US will follow what is called the One China policy, which is that there is another China, which is the People's Republic of China and Mao's China. And then when Mao's China has become very close to the US will start to now push the Chinese forward, and that will create it what it is. And that is the context in which it becomes such an important power and gets also in the entry into the UNSC. Though we gave up our position to give the UNSC seat to the Chinese, a separate issue altogether that we'll discuss in post-independence. But the point is that this is the reason why this happened. So, Sujay, I don't know. You can email me. I'll get it sorted. That is the reason why China becomes China. It is the shift from Chiang Kai-shek or KMT to Mao. Okay. Anshika, you are here. I'll just cover these questions and then I'll take questions. Anshika? Yes, better interconnection and awareness of internationalization and geopolitics. That is why you are here for world history. Okay, present. So you have sent me first, there are various Enlightenment philosophers having different ideas and theories. What will be better, to quote them in the theories or quote them in their core argument in the answers? Quote nothing, Enlightenment. Anshika, don't have to learn that. If you're talking about optional, maybe. But for GS, don't try to quote Rousseau and Kant. The questions are never going to be about Enlightenment philosophers, but don't waste your time that way. Kishan, I will take the questions later. I'll talk about indentured labor. Wait. I'll take that question. But right now, I'm taking the questions which have come through email. I told you that is the order of precedence. You're talking about optional. If in optional that happens, one quote maximum, Rousseau and all. But if you're not able to remember the quotes, what is their core argument is more important, because the examiner is not going to get totally blown away by a quote. Try to be very precise in writing their theories. That is more important. Okay. I've opted for history as my optional subject. Recorded videos, you have insightful knowledge that allowed me to understand history in much better way. Ability to analyze some complex and titled events. However, I'm not able to put the events on a single or timeline to revise in effective manner. See, Anshika, when you talk about history optional, for example, it would be a Herculean task to have one single timeline. What I encourage you to do is that you can make four timelines, very basically four basic timelines: ancient, medieval, early modern, and modern. For the basic six timelines which we have, I would recommend that you can also go through the book which I've just published, not trying to plug it in, but the task of putting everything on timeline is already done, because in the very categorically there's a section on timelines. Second would be, if you want to do it yourself, take macro areas. So ancient on one timeline, medieval on the other timeline, then thereafter modern on the other one, and world is going to be the real problem for you, because that's a very heavy section in history optional. So if you will try to put it once, it will become problematic. Rather, break it up and then keep 2 to 3 timelines together. If the what will happen is, if you are able to interlink the events, which you will be able to, you will be able to understand all the timelines together. See, ancient medieval is a separate issue altogether. However, if you are doing modern and world, you keep them together, keep the two sheets together and see how they're connected to each other, which I'll try to show you also. Okay. One more. I understand and learn topics most of the times. I remember the gist and core concept. Do I need to learn for specificity? See, Anshika, for optional, you need to know a little bit more. Little bit more depth is important. On the other hand, GS, if you're understanding the basics of world history and basic stories, that is more than enough. I attended lecture on Bengal. You want Bengal partition? I attended first lecture on Bengal partition. I attended remaining lectures later. Among that, you shared some document. Acha, you want a police? You send me an email. I'll get that police article for you. That is in your dashboard, but that not maybe showing. You email me. I'll get you that sorted for you. Okay. Madhumita, till this point, 3-4 people asked me a question. I've already answered them. We are using those questions to also revise. Thereafter, I go into previous year and then I go into the questions related to or the answer writing aspect itself. Okay, perfect. Madhumita, are you here? No. So we'll move to Alina. What are the significance of World War II and Cold War? So World War II significance, I told you, is nothing but Cold War politics itself, which is Cold War politics is the significance along with Germany getting divided. Thereafter, decolonization. Chisti, again, I'm telling you, for every person who's sitting there with significance. The significance of the First World War is the cause for the Second World War. Second World War, first is Germany gets divided. Second is Cold War. Third is decolonization across the world. Thereafter, fourth is the world getting dominated by USA, USSR politics. And fifth is the birth of the Third World. Now, what is the significance of the Cold War? Cold War, this time table wasn't posted. It's supposed to be there on 5. Ilma, no, don't get timetable. Again, you need it. You just send it to send an email. For these things, you send an email. I'll forward it to the team. Now, with regards to Cold War, what is the significance? The significance of Cold War is that between 1945 and 1992, everything which happened in the world was because of Cold War politics. Afghanistan, Korea, Vietnam War, significance. Thereafter, the Berlin blockade, the Berlin Wall crisis, Cuban Missile Crisis, Chernobyl, the way satellite states came out, all are significances only. UN being proved to be useless. The fact is, Cold War significance is the world being engaged in a proper battle between two nations and two ideologies, and the end of that is with the birth of unipolarity in the world and America as a superpower. The question which you are going to answer for a Cold War answer is going to be like a current affairs answer. So these are questions which are basically IR oriented. You will not write a historical answer here. You rather talk about how till today there is a divide between the world. For example, the Russians, the NATO countries, and there's Cold War 2.0, which is on with regards to Russia again trying to shift the Iron Curtain towards the NATO countries. Ukraine conflict is also a significance of that. So in that, can we say multipolar world? No, no, no. After Cold War, it is not a multipolar world; it's a unipolar world. From bipolarity to unipolarity. Maybe in the past decade or so, we've gone from unipolarity to maybe multipolarity if you consider China to be a proper adversary of the US, which again is not true in that sense. Which is that, yes, the Chinese are important. We are also important. But the power which the US holds at this point of time is immense. The level of influence which it has. So you can say that there's a movement away from unipolarity to multipolarity, but you can't say that it's a polypolar world or a multipolar world. For that, India has to be a proper superpower, and for that, China also has to come out of debt capitalism and debt imperialism and become much more assertive. Maybe economically it's a multipolar world, but politically and geopolitically, still US controls a lot of things, and when it comes to defense and military, US controls everything. So that is the basic point you need to understand. NATO versus, you can't write NATO versus Quad, Priyanka, because Quad and NATO are totally different things. NATO is Europe and this whole North Atlantic sector coordinating with each other. Quad is just a standard. It's a not even a it's a formal but an informal understanding between four countries in order to balance China. That's not the way NATO is. NATO is a proper constitution. It's a very old institution. These are very new institutions which are trying to figure out. So understand this point that US is trying to balance China. That is not comparable to how US is generally. Okay. Except significance cause the story you told that these are no relevance to us because after some time we forget. Yes, stories don't matter, Alina. Do we have to remember only the dates which are mentioned in timeline, not that in the PPT? Alina, there's the same dates are mentioned in the PPT and the timeline. But if you can remember the timeline, more than enough. Okay. Yes, from tomorrow, ancient medieval art and culture, I will start. Okay. Purva. Purva, are you here? Yes, Purva. Explain Iron Curtain in short. See, Iron Curtain basically concept is with Russia entering into the Eastern European sector, it is believed that the world got divided. Europe got into two parts. One is the USA-led capitalistic part, with, for example, France and Eastern or Western Germany being that border. On the other hand, with Poland, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and the Albanian sector, all of them going under communist regimes, there was a creeping wall of socialism towards the Europeans. That is the concept of the Iron Curtain. It's a metaphorical line which was drawn in across Europe, which represented the line between socialism and capitalism. And therefore, you would have heard this new concept itself, which is the concept of uh, Iron Curtain again moving. So the Iron Curtain actually moved in this direction. The Iron Curtain after the Cold War moved in this direction. Now Russia is trying to move the Iron Curtain back to its original point, which is to take Ukraine. Okay. PPT is enough for world history? Yes, they are. Repetition of supply demand graph of Second World War. Nothing more. If there was a constant demand, thereafter demand increased exponentially and then it fell exponentially also. But when it comes to supply always tries to match the demand. Once it matches demand, that by that time demand falls and there is a certain mismatch. This mismatch is the period of domestic overproduction, and that is where the problems of the economy emerge in that sense. Okay, we'll now wage tree 4 5, yeah, wage tree here. Any questions came in mains this year? No, it was a tangential question. Last major question came in 2021. Okay. Uh, your questions are thoughtful in that sense. I know colonialism was worst for the colonies, but colonialism is in a way, taught the colonies about nationalism, democracy, constitutionalism, abolition of sati. So that can we say the positive impact of colonialism? Can we say that migration, global capitalism, national disintegration, religious extremism are challenges? Could you challenge this? Okay, first let's take this question. That positive impact of colonialism was that we learned nationalism, democracy, constitutionalism, abolition of sati. See, if you talk about, I will take the evening batch of Modern India, which is going to start tomorrow. If you talk about, for example, uh, socially, maybe the impact has been positive but negative both. Now, I leave it to you how you weigh it. Yes, abolition of sati, infanticide, slavery, and the women's position improved. And in a way, that intervention was needed. By the same point of time, you had famines, peasant destruction, weavers, deindustrialization. So the social fabric of India was, in a way, pulled in two directions. For maybe in the social justice reform movement, that was something which came as an impulse from colonialism. That is a good thing. But society-wise, we were totally destroyed because poverty, inequality became a standard now. Now comes the concept of democracy and nationalism. See, learning nationalism is, our nationalism is a response to colonialism. So if you want to say, for example, did socially some sections did benefit, depressed classes, women, they did get a certain rights. And the fact that now the caste system and the varna system were challenged in a way, the temple entry movement, the no, the anti-brahminical movement in South India, all of that was needed. That is, in a way, you can say yes, that is the positive impact. But that will not be outweighed by the fact that how much damage did the British did to India. So yes, certain section there was a lot of benefit, but that will not be counterbalanced by what they did in the other section. Now comes nationalism. Our nationalism was in response to British. Yes, you could say that what India political boundaries you see today may not have been there if the British would not have been there. Maybe India would have become politically fragmented into multiple polities, which was the basic political fragmentation of 18th century. Yes, that is the case, that our nationalism brought India together. What we see as India today, Bharat or India, what you call, is basically a British invention in that sense. because they were able to unite India via the railways, administrative setup, and British India concept itself. Democracy is something which we already knew. Because we already had from Vedic period and throughout history, we had democratic institutions. Modern democracy is not something which the British taught us, because we, as it is, we got to know about it, but democracy and democratic institutions are nothing new in India. So that can already be there. So if you look at it, the report card of colonialism, Vechri, the report card of colonialism is that yes, there is a positive impact in certain sections, but the overall picture is not very good. That is the point. That maybe was it really worth it? That's the question. That was colonialism worth the good which we get? So political unity, what we are today, is because of the British. But communal violence, Pakistan, partition, all because of the British. Till today, we see the legacy of that. So if the question is, was it really worth it? No. But yes, what we are today. The point is that it's such a big counterfactual question that we have no idea what the answer is to this. If not the British, maybe the other powers. If not that, maybe the Marathas. If not that, then maybe India got fragmented. So there are multiple questions. These are questions which we will never know what the answer is. Right. This is clear, Vechri? Negatives more than the positives. Yes, very good. Can you say that most of the positives are side effects of... No, it's not side effect. It's a conscious policy which they followed. But the point is that it really did not work out in that sense. Everything which the British did actually started to backfire. They became... English utilitarians came, they said that create a middle class. Middle class will be loyal to the British, but the middle class was the same class which became nationalist also. So from tomorrow, when I start, for example, Modern Day in the evening batch, if you want to join me, these are questions which I actually answer automatically. Which is that, what is this basic concept of the British in India? Why is that colonialism is so complicated? British never came to India with a set plan. They figured it out how to go forward in that sense. Okay. Can we say that migration, global capitalism, national disintegration, religious extremism are challenges? Yes, they remain challenges. They have always been challenges and will remain challenges in that sense. Can I just ask the balance? Okay, negatives a lot, negatives, positives. I don't look one-sided. Yeah, don't look at it one-sided. Okay. If you are basically, if you look at only positive, you are trying to justify colonialism. That cannot work. What could be challenges associated with decolonization? Can we write generalized factors, state building, language? Yes, yes. You already know the answer to that. Basic generic things, if you can write, that is more than enough. Can any question related to terrorism be asked in examination, as US is a breeder? If yes, no. See, Vechi, understand this point. UPSC does not ask questions like this. UPSC does not ask questions like this. See, you in polity, they will ask you burning questions, controversial questions where UPSC can't expect a UPSC aspirant to give them the answer to a question which the government of India is not able to answer. Try to understand this point. They can ask you to highlight the challenges. They can't ask you to give you solutions. So if the government of India is not able to answer that question, how can you answer that question? Try to understand this point. It's not that straightforward. It's complicated. UPSC will ask you, are you aware of it? It's not that give us a solution. That's not the way. Which is done. Okay. Can we say language, ethnicity are major factors of religion in shaping the world? Even Indian leaders led Indian democrats. See, Sachin, culture is always important. Be it language, be it ethnicity, be it clothing, be it food, it will always be a major factor in bringing and dividing the world itself. These are standard factors. Abhijit, as I said, the questions which you are asking me, hold on to them. I'll ask you to write them and I'll take them. Not right now. Let me first, there are only two people left, which is Yatindra. Yatindra, you are here, and Ilma. Thereafter, I'll take your questions. Freestyle. Yatindra. Yes. When France sneezes, Europe catches a cold. This is in the context of Revolution of 1848, because France sneezed in in the French Revolution. Europe was fighting. In 1848, France again went into a revolution, and across the board, across all European countries, there were multiple revolutions. That is basically called the Revolution of 1848. France sneezes, Europe catches a cold. How Spanish monarchy is related to Bismarck war in France. As I told you, that across Europe there's a tradition. There are multiple thrones which are there, but there are only limited dynasties, meaning families which can sit on these thrones. So if a throne becomes empty, all families are allowed to nominate their person for that throne. Bismarck is the Prussian king. So Bismarck nominated the Prussian king and his relative as the king of Spain. However, France said, you will never do it, you recuse it, and you will never ask for it. That is the connection. Why Germany and Austria were in good terms and alliance before World War One? Because both of them realized that they're what we call as German speaking. Culturally, they came together, and because of the secret alliances which are happening around it, it was a natural way in which both would come together. Language was something which brought them together, because vis-a-vis the British and French politics. Why Britain became good friends with Russia after constitutional monarchy? Firstly, it's not good, but the fact is Russia was changing. Britain thought it was changing. And Britain really did not care if it was changing. It was about the geopolitics. In 1907, it was important to encircle Germany, and that was being done in that sense. Why Bolsheviks supported withdrawal from the war? Because socialism, and Lenin very categorically argued that the First World War is nothing but a war of imperialism. Imperialistic powers fighting for their political and rather economic domination. And socialism says that we will not fight a capitalistic war. Can you give the timeline of fourth stage of Italian unification and October Revolution? Fourth stage was that you will have first northern Italy, then central Italy, then southern Italy, and then the papal areas. So this is after defeating Austria. This is after plebiscite. This is after Garibaldi's what we call as a peasant rebellion, and this is after 1870. Once Napoleon III will be gone, France will start to write a constitution. In that they will do it. Okay, done. Now Ilma, last. She's the last in the list, and thereafter we take the questions in the chat box. Rule of Hitler, unification of Germany. How Hitler strengthened their position. Hitler defied the Treaty of Versailles, started to militarize, started to build an army, started to build an air force. He cleansed the whole German society of Jews. He started to take Jewish businesses. He then started to produce a lot of arms and ammunition in secret. He went for Austrian Union. He used the policy of appeasement of Britain and France to take what he wanted. And he very categorically, very systematically, as he promised, defied every provision of the Treaty of Versailles. How the unification of Germany happened as three timelines go simultaneously, so I am unable to understand. Unification of Germany, as I told you, is first Holy Roman Empire. Once Holy Roman Empire is destroyed by Napoleon, it becomes the Confederation of Rhine. Confederation of Rhine is that 314 to 39. Thereafter, Confederation of Rhine, you get what is called as the German Confederation. That is what Metternich will create. Then 1848 Revolution, Frankfurt Parliament. All of this will be a failure. Then will come Bismarck. Bismarck will start to do politics, or what we call as basic geopolitics, and two wars, Austria and France, and then unify by 1871. Done. Now you can write your questions in the chat box, and I'll take the questions. Right now, all the questions which came to me through email are done. USA got independence in 18th century. How USA, Pratik? USA became powerful within very short span. It's not a short span. They became powerful by 1914. So 1776 and 1914. It was a very long time, close to 200 years. Helena, send me an email about that. I'll get that sorted. Okay. Perfect, Ilma. In Cold War politics, Afghan War, Vietnam War, could you tell? Afghan War, as I say, Vietnam War we did separately. Afghan war is basically Afghanistan. Listen to me for the people who want to know. Afghanistan was under a very conservative regime. The Communist Party of Afghanistan is going to overthrow the conservative party or conservative regime of these generals, and that is called the Saur Revolution. Communism will take control, will do very good, but now USA does not like that. So the US will basically start to fund an organization called the Mujahideen, which will strengthen the conservatives, and their thing was to remove the communist powers. Once it became clear that the Mujahideen will take over, USSR had to, under Brezhnev, had to intervene and in a way install a USSR-led government in Afghanistan. That is called the Russian invasion of USSR of Afghanistan. That is technically not true. That was to block the Mujahideen from coming to power. Russia will be there. Gorbachev is going to open. When he will open, the Mujahideen had now become Taliban. They will try to capture power, but the Americans had a different agenda altogether, and therein they will install a democratic regime. And thereafter, there will be a tussle between the same organization which we created it, USA versus Taliban, to capture Afghanistan. USA created all of these things. Recently, Taliban captured power. That's it. Okay. Sir, I planned my schedule such that I'm done with all portions of December. After that, I'll revise test series notes, making pre-mains, preparing for 2025. Sometimes, okay. See, Kishan, you have too much time. You have 2025. You've done everything. So you only need to revise and consolidate. Your biggest issue is going to be current affairs. So if you have to just control current affairs, static is already done. Keep on revising. Optional should be strong by June of 2024. And when your optional is done, GS is done, and current affairs, you have to be very, very thorough with it, because your target is moving in that sense. We know, as we know, Anjali, India will be developed in 2047. We don't know that, but sure, why not? So can I say that development only because of industrialization, not industrial revolution? Because India is industrialized country. See, Anjali, uh, now it is not that straightforward that you have to go through an industrial revolution to become a industrial power. We are a service based economy. So now our path is not because of the industrial path. We are trying to strengthen it, but it will still remain a service based economy. Plus, yes, technological aspect, sustainable development. So in a way, sure. Those Spain and Portugal were the pioneers in exploration. Why they weren't exploitative? Deepika, that answer basically is from it's a very age-old question. Spain and Portugal basically got so much gold and silver out of these colonies that they never wanted to change. And when the limited supply of gold and silver was gone, their economies crashed and they were never able to actually compete with Britain and France later, specifically Britain. That's called the 16th century, what we call as a price revolution, and thereafter 17th century crash. But that is something which is not part of your course in that sense. How will it impact if Hitler won the World War II? Most probably we would be speaking German. This world would have been different. And counterfactual question, maybe we all would be dead. Could be anything. For history optional, the notes you are showing on screen in recorded video is enough for optional. Yes. Mina, don't have to worry about that. If you can understand that, more than enough. But you would need a certain set of books. For example, Upinder Singh and all you need. That's an important set of books. Sir, now World War III from Israel-Palestine. No. See, don't use this very loosely, that World War III. World wars are very brutal. If 8 crore people were dead when there was no nuclear war, a third world war would basically mean that the whole world will get annihilated and we will go into a nuclear holocaust. How did USSR disintegrate? The satellite states came out and there was a Gorbachev based internal change in which he basically changed the whole structure, and that whole socialistic model was gone. Mixed economy came. Alexander the Great is not for here. How will it impact if Hitler won the war? I've answered Hitler won the war when Hitler won the war. Okay. With UN reform, it will be hold international rules based order. See, UN reforms will never happen. Kuraku, remember, UN reform will never happen. P5 will never give other powers power, and they will not reform UN itself. So maybe rule based order can be there, but basically that will never happen in that regard. Causes of 7 Years' War. 7 Years' War causes is the Austrian War of Succession. Who will sit on the throne of Austria will make Europe fight twice. It had an impact. Third Carnatic War, First and Third Carnatic War are related. English and French rivalry in India is linked to that. Repeat the concept of capitalism. Capitalism is an industries-based model. Whole industrial revolution is nothing but capitalism. Class conflict leads to class struggle, leads to political. Yes, that is the way socialism is. Class conflict will be there, class struggle will emerge, class consciousness will emerge, and that will lead to socialism. What was Great Depression? The crash of the Wall Street and thereafter the whole world going into recession. Factors responsible for it: overproduction, export issues, mishandling by the government, speculation. Answer writing I'm going to do. Rather than fighting a war, China can replace, we can create new suppliers, diversify. Which is not that straightforward. This is not the way one power cannot create these things. The world is not much more complex than that. Nirbhay, you email me about it. I'll get that sorted if you can't see recordings. Why Russia did not join Germany in World War II? Germany has a proper anti-socialist agenda. Then why would USSR join Germany in that sense? Sir, now Third World War from, is it true, sir? No, Rashida. Oshin, the importance of Russian Revolution lay not in the revolution itself, but the legacy. This I discussed yesterday only. The legacy of the Russian Revolution is socialism, and that is going to dominate the world from the First World War, from the interwar period to the Second World War to the Cold War. Everything is about socialism only. Yes, I've answered you, Meera. Apart from Vietnam and Afghan, is there any other war relevant for Cold War? Vietnam, Korea, and Afghanistan are 3 wars which are there. Introduction writing, Abhishek, I'll talk about that. I'm batch 6. Tomorrow evening, I start modern. Yes, I will take that session. Connection between deindustrialization in India and industrial revolution in Britain. Connection is that industrial revolution will happen first. They will get the market. In order to have no competition from Indian weavers, they will perpetuate commercialization of agriculture and land revenue systems, which will in turn lead to deindustrialization. So deindustrialization was necessary to open the Indian market in that sense. PPT sufficient? Yes, for this world history it is sufficient. With UN reforms, it will hold international rule-based order. I guess as I never will happen, I can predict that. Only superficial reform will happen, never fundamental reform. Can we make notes only on the topics you gave yesterday, module? Yes, you have to do that, but you have to still have an understanding of the whole module. PPC is sufficient. I am done with optional full length. Maximum how many months preparation? 3 to 6 months is needed for optional. That is based on your understanding and level in that sense. Okay. Is there any next tomorrow, 2026? Right time to start reading newspaper. Dhavni, for 2026, you have to read the newspaper every day. You have too much time. You have to inculcate this habit in that sense. Till today, not sure about optional appeal. Optional selection I'll talk about in the end. Kamlesh, evidence of USA employment. Is there any evidence of USA employing several German? Yes, there is multiple Jewish Nazi scientists who were actually employed by the Americans later to develop a lot of different things in America. That is true. Please tell capitalism, how class conflict. Capitalism is based on exploitation of the base, which is workers. When you will be exploited, you will create a type of conflict that will in turn lead to you to develop animosity, which is class consciousness, and that in turn leads to revolution. American War nutshell. You mean American War of Independence. That is of no purpose to you, but Britain and America are fighting for independence. What is more important is Second Continental Congress will realize that the American independence process is going to be bloody. So they needed what we call as a concept of a army, which is the Continental Army. Okay. 1 second. I'm looking for the questions. Last lecture of world history, yes. What is the impact of World War on India? Mohan, I've already discussed that. Second World War impact is decolonization. First World War impact is any Defense of India Act, Rowlatt Act, Amritsar violence, Jallianwala Bagh, Ghadar movement, Khilafat, NCM, Sikh. This is standard. So Cold War happened in the past, but can we say impacts us today? Yes, why not? Yes, it is true, Anjali. The proxy war is still today alive. I am reading things, but answer writing. Answer writing, I'll talk about in the end. Why China plays victim if justified in expansionary? Because it is easier. Chinese, that is a rhetoric. That is a rhetoric. They are not a colonial power, but initially they were victims to the imperialistic urge of the West. African decolonization, two forms: either armed struggle or in the form of national movements. And I showed you the table for two national movements based on Western educated elites, which I'll show you a question for. And armed struggle is when these tribes come together. Which is the best option for science background student? There is no best option in this world, Kumalu. There's no best optional. It's about your aptitude, what you can do. Impact of First World War I've already done on India. Can you please explain succession in Europe? Succession is in Europe is thrones are there, families are there. All families can nominate their people or relatives as the ruler, and that is the standard process. So there will be there can be 50 thrones, but only 3 dynasties or families ruling these 50 thrones. ARM is for just your understanding. I am right read things, but in answer writing I'm not able to write. I'll discuss that. India also didn't had experience of democracy. We were also multi-ethnic, multi-religious, linguistic, diverse. How democracy arrived here? Will it not be in Germany? Sneha, that credit for India's survival as a democracy is to the Constitution of India. The Constituent Assembly understood unity in diversity and the complexities, and that is the way our constitution was made also. As per historical evidence, is it proved that socialism is irrelevant, capitalism still prevalent? Not even historical evidence. Look at around you. Socialism does not exist, capitalism will always exist. You are in a capitalist model right now. The next subject. Tomorrow morning, you will start ancient medieval art and culture, and evening modern India. Anjali, I've agreed with you. Recently, global AI regulation blueprint by US depicts resistance for multiple world order. Again, Priyanka, this is a international. AI means artificial intelligence. You're saying, qualify what you mean by that AI. We witness the Cold War that West and Russia destabilized by convert proxy war, which also happened. Cold War, what can we? Yes. Or what is happening right now is Cold War 2.0. Basically, Cold War never died through. NATO versus Russia is Cold War 2.0. Currently, UN is toothless. Yes. How can we make it powerful? Don't need to make it powerful. You make it powerful, the US gets powerful. Modern India, I've learned timeline till the 1771. After that, it is difficult. Again, Ilma, you have to do that. That is basic. You have to do it through revision. That is it. China suffered just imperialism. Kya self-victimization. They did not go into colonialism. They only went into imperialism. How can I say motivated in long run? This is a philosophical question. I'll discuss that. We witnessed during Cold War the West and Russia legislators have taken linguistic state form. Shoyab, this is world history, not post-independence. First linguistic state formed before Fazal Ali Commission. Andhra state, Andhra and Tamil Nadu. Sir, with job to do, attending morning lectures, clear-cut understanding of difficult. So, Yash, what you have to do is you need to use your downtime better. Revise in the week offs which you get. That is more important. Hypothetically, if communism would have prevailed, wouldn't that have killed the motivation, or it's a good concept? Mahima, again, you are not able to fathom it. Communism is good because then you don't need to clear UPSC. You would have everything what you wanted. You would be watching something on your TV and basically you would not need anything. If everyone is equal, everyone gets what it is, then why is there need for competition? That's the basic point. So good and bad, that is a hypothetical question. Boundaries of Africa were made in European countries, which create conflict today. Is it different from military invention and all? No, they were created by the African, by the Europeans, and still today remain an issue. ARM you can go through once. Artificial intelligence. Is there any country who got independence like India without undergoing revolution? Any country who got independence like without going? There are multiple countries like that. Whole of Africa, most of Latin America, the transfer of power happened in most of the areas. Zimmerman plan was related to Gadar because basically that Mexico connection and Canada connection was what the Gadar were also trying to exploit. Now Vietnam and China are rivals because of the South China Sea issue. Vietnam wants certain islands which China also claims. 9-line. Is there the holiday for Diwali? Yes. Introduce. What is holiday for Diwali? Yes, yes. Carnatic War Phase 2. Again, Carnatic War Phase 2, I would discuss first Phase 1 first. Na? I've reached the last. Alok has asked me a question now because I'll give you a break here and then I want to come back because too many things are coming. Okay. So does having a lot of security and comprehensive agreement enough to stopping mistakes of the World War? No. The more conferences and more treaties you have are the bigger issues. Because what happens is that you have then again false sense of collective security. Remember this point. Conferences and all are never the answer to anything. Okay. So when Canada was under British rule, why didn't the American Revolution spread up to Canada? Because that was much more heavily and strongly controlled by the British. It was proper British colony. America, the presence of the British was limited, unlike Canada in that sense. Does with optional my question. Okay, I'll talk about optional 1 second. I'll talk about optional. That is okay, Akshay. Will my graduation course be enough for optional? Your Deb Smita, tell me what is your graduation subject? Yash, the simple point is try to understand the core argument rather than understanding the subsidiary things. Okay, sociology, then it should be enough. Now, please listen to me. A lot of you ask me about optional. Can I have a discussion on optional? Come on. Can I have a discussion on optional? Do we revise history first? Take world history? No. Never take world history as the first thing to revise for prelims, after mains, after prelims. Okay. Now see, you've asked me multiple questions about what this is my background, this is the way. Tell me the optional. Now tell the first things first, straightforward. There is no good or bad optional. It's about your aptitude. Now, certain options are obviously out of bound. For example, economics, physics, chemistry. These are topics in which BSc level questions come. Even if you're a BTech, you will not be able to answer those optionals. So mathematics, statistics, take those optionals only when you have background in it. So if you're BSc physics, you have BSc chemistry, you have BSc botany, BS whatever. If you have that degree, then take it. So certain options are specialized. Agriculture, for example, literature, Hindi literature, English literature, you need to have a background in that. If you remove the specialized ones, for example, law and all, what you get are basically the 5-6 standard: PSIR, sociology, anthropology, thereafter you have what? Public administration, history, psychology again is very specialized. I can see that may be the case. Now listen to me. Psychology is a very specific thing. You have to have understanding of BA honors psychology to do it. History, geography, these are the standard ones which people take. Philosophy you can take, but philosophy again is something which you have to stay away from if you don't have understanding. Now, economics is understand this point. Please listen to me. See, this is not GS. UPSC straightforward says in the syllabus that the level has to be graduation level, which is BA honors or BSc honors level. Now understand this point. In other subjects, you will get very specialized questions. I've seen students who are from a BSc physics who don't take physics, or from BSc mathematics and they don't take mathematics because it is very difficult. There you cannot play with it. So very simply, what is left are these optionals, which are basically the most popular ones in that sense. Accountancy you can take if you're from commons background, but that is a very specific thing. See, if you have I have no understanding of mathematics, I take mathematics as my what we call as optional, then you're committing suicide. And don't take an optional because your brother brother, senior, because a lot of you follow your seniors too much. So my senior took notes are prepared, I will take that optional. समझ नहीं आता कुछ भी, but you want to take that optional. Don't do that. Take an optional as per your understanding. Now, whatever I've written in front of the screen, philosophy, I don't really recommend, but the ones which I've written in front of your screen are the most safest optionals out of which you can actually cover the syllabus of a BA honors within 3 to 6 months. Now, each of them has an advantage and disadvantage. Each one of them has. Now, for example, PSIR. Too much theory, very difficult paper because the current affairs is always on. As you talk about it, each day, there is something which is added to PSIR. So it's a moving target. It's a very dynamic subject. And the fact of the matter is, the disadvantage would be that you have to have a very strong depth in that sense. Huge syllabus, moving target. Advantage is that GS level polity automatically gets covered, and it's not scoring, but it's in between. That you can manage it without knowing anything about what we call as political science and international relations. Now, for example, let's talk about sociology, anthropology, public administration, and philosophy. The problem with these four is that they are not going to help you in GS. The most fashionable right now is anthropology and public administration. Sociology, the problem is for the past 2 to 3 years, the question paper is becoming more and more specialized. And the point is, it's like a bubble. It's actually like a bubble. It will burst at any point of time. The bubble of sociology has already been burst. The questions are becoming difficult. Anthro, people take anthro. It's just a matter of time that things will change. Sociology will help writing one GS paper, one answer about social issues. You can do that irrespective of studying sociology. See, this is the problem with these four. They are exclusive, but can be done quickly. Then come geography and history. These three are basically the ones which will automatically cover for you GS. History, the point is that if you take history, it has no dynamic portion, questions repeat, and themes repeat. More or less, you know what the question is going to come because the thematic has to repeat. But the problem is vast syllabus. You need time to do it, but you can do it. I am telling you, there's no best here. Please understand, don't try to weigh. It's about all of them having a different understanding. That very simply, they are based on different understandings. These three have an advantage that you cover your GS syllabus automatically. And more than that, geography is technical but interesting. Engineering students like it quite a lot. History is static but vast and does not have too much changing pattern. PSIR is interesting, vast but dynamic. Anthro, socio, public administration, and philosophy are small, easy, short period you can cover. But the point is, their papers have been not representative of their honors level. That can change, but hasn't changed till this point. So you just pray that it doesn't change. Sociology used to be very easy, but recently the paper has changed a little bit. Anthro, physical, and that is the only subject which you see that after the year, after every alternative year, anthro first 10 rankers, you will see 2, 3 for sure. But the point is, don't choose it like that. Sir, ask the people who are asking best option. Let's see the best. The point is, everybody will say their option is best because you want me to justify your stance. That is the problem here. That is the problem. You want me to validate what you've done. I will not do that. The point is how to choose. Simple, straightforward. You have to go through the syllabus. You have to go through the previous year papers. You have to read around. For example, a student who loves polity may not like PSIR because too much political theory is there. A student who likes GS level history cannot like history as an optional because world history is difficult. A student who loves social issues may not like sociology, Durkheim, this, that, political theories there. So now when you start to learn the name of evolutionary humans from Australopithecus, Gary, this, that, Aphronesis, then anthropology becomes problematic. Don't go by what I say. Don't go by a video which you're watching on YouTube. Don't go by anything which anyone else is telling you. It is the generation of Google and generation of access to information. Try to take an informed decision. Do you really understand this point? Once you take an option, it is a commitment. Cannot change it year on year. Sociology is a study of society, anthropology is a study of culture. So anthro is about understanding culture, society, culture, tribes and all. Sociology is understanding the issues in the society itself. So I'm being very clear. If you are now not finding sociology difficult, the bubble has already bursted 2-3 years before. So if it's good for you, that's a good for you. See, understand this point, please. I'm telling you. You can do it with coaching, without coaching. That is totally on your level. See, I was a BA honors. I'm a master. I'm for technically a PhD in history. So I will take 2 months in covering the same portion, which you will may take 6 months. So your level matters. You need to understand this point. There's no set thing. People say, "Kitne din mein ho jana chahiye?" You tell me, I will do it. And you don't know who is who. How will you do it within 3 months? Public administration would be a little bit more specialized than PSIR. Public administration would be governance basically. But PSIR is political science and international relations. What is the problem in sociology? Nothing. If you find it fine, it's fine. But sociology will not help you in GS. See, a basic strategy which was taken previously was you take an optional which intersects with GS. Therefore, you're covering GS also and you're covering optional also. However, that is not now true because people tend to find this shortcut in the form of sociology, anthropology, public administration, philosophy. But yeah, you don't like to hear philosophy from someone else, and you take philosophy as optional. Philosophy is philosophy. Badi baatein karenge. You don't understand that, you take philosophy because somebody told me philosophy is this. So understand this point that there is no set answer. If somebody is telling you, come here, this is the optional which you should take, then stay away from that person because then he is pushing his own agenda on you. I am telling you, when you buy a mobile phone, do you actually see an ad saying Realme best phone and you go and buy that Realme or Redmi or Oppo? Do you do that? If the ad tells you that it is the best phone in the world, you buy it. By jab phone kharidne mein you actually watch 10 to 15 videos. When you watch hundreds of reviews on that, then why can't you do a little bit of research on your optional? By your aptitude, I can't tell you, na. I hate political theory, for example. Not true, but for example. So then why will I take PSIR? Why will I take philosophy? I don't like to learn. Cannot ratify anything. Then why will you take history? Or I don't want to have a vast syllabus. I don't understand the processes of the earth itself. Geography, GS is weak. And what is my optional? Geography optional. Economics, I don't know the E of it and then I've taken economics. Don't do that. Have to see, it is not a given. The advantage which all of this is, you don't have to do a BA honors to answer these questions, but they still need a little bit of commitment. So understand this point. Optional is a commitment, can take 3 months, can take 6 months, can take 9 months. It's about what you have taken, what is your level. You have, see, the point is, why are you scared of writing answers? Is because you don't want to write answers and you're not writing answers. Same way, don't let anybody tell you which is the best optional. For some students, what happens is their aptitude matters. If you don't love your optional, you don't find interest in it, it will become a burden. I'm from BSc Mathematics. Mathematics is my optional. Very good. But I've seen multiple people who are coming from their same honors. They do history honors and they will not basically take history as optional. They'll take PSIR because that is aptitude. So, open the paper once. Look at the paper. Look at the type of questions. Understand the syllabus. Thereafter, try to see what is the pattern. And for you, these the things have been already done on multiple free platforms. But don't listen to a person that, okay, this is. No, don't do that. You've chosen your optional, stand by it. Don't seek validation with someone else. Getting my point? Yeah, Anjali saying she's from physics background, taking sociology because of interest. Certain people like sociology, certain people like anthropology. They say they give graduation level, but saw previous year from master's level. I have masters in chemistry and PhD net. I'm confused. I choose chemistry or move to anthropology. What is difficulty level chemistry? See, Saurabh, if UPSC says BSc, it will be MSc level. But UPSC जो बोलता है वो करता नहीं है. When they say something, they don't do that. So you can't say to the UPSC, how did you ask this question out of MSc? If you look at the questions and you see MSc level and you're not MSc, you're not comfortable with chemistry, take something else. So that's a separate issue altogether, right? I'm a BSc student. Can I take PSIR? You can take anything. You can take agriculture also. UPSC does not say that your graduation should be in the same subject as your optional. But understand this point, Abul, which is that if you have no idea of PSIR, if you don't know who is Aristotle Plato, if you don't like reading political theory, then have a taste of it a little bit. Try to taste that, and if you will like it, then only move forward. Yes, that is the way. Yes, Anshu, very good. Optional is totally dependent on interest and ability. That is true. Your interest needs to be there. Anthropology related to current affairs, sure, but technically not. Sociology may be anthro is study of old civilizations. Okay. Honors levels means there are multiple degrees which you get in India. BA honors, BA program, BSc honors, BSc program. Honors levels means graduation with honors, in which you have done a degree in that subject. In BA program, in BSc program, you do multiple subjects: physics, chemistry, history, PSIR, sociology. In honors, you specialize in that one subject. So it's like your BTech specialization. Okay. In modern history, covered by you sufficient for PSIR syllabus? Abhishek, you are asking me a contradictory question itself. The modern history which I have covered, is it enough for PSIR optional or syllabus? That most probably is not true. Only certain sections will intersect, because making of constitution is now of no purpose to me. Constituent assembly is no purpose to me. But yes, that national movement part will be covered. Okay. So I took sociology. I am not understanding. Please tell me what to do. See, if you have multiple years, change course. Abhi you've not done damage. If you have in 2024 and if you've already invested time, then you can only change it after you've not qualified, for example. So nobody's chaining you to that optional, but optional is a commitment. And understand this point. UPSC preparation, one is called GS level preparation and the other one is called optional level preparation. Both have to go together, because what student says, मैं सब GS कर लूंगा, then I will start optional. That will never come. That day will never come in your life. Have to dedicate 1.5 hours every day to your optional. Because what will happen is, as soon as you qualify for the prelims examination, you only get 3 months, not even properly 3 months. And in that 3 months, nobody can read and learn optional for the first time. Optional should be done at least 1 to 2 times before you go for prelims. And not that you're doing optional between January and May. No. Before January. First 6 months of preparation. Right? GS keeps on going. Optional has to be done first. For 2026, when should I start optional? Rajat, right now. What time I do it right now? Yeah, try to understand this point. 2024 people have time crunch. 2025 से लेकर 2030 तक, whoever has to give. What are you waiting for? That somebody is going to come and say, now start optional. Use the time which you have. By the time you give your attempt in 2026, you should have done 3 to 4 times your optional. When you have started early, what are you waiting for? How to allocate time? That is, Kishan, again based on a timetable. I can't make. You can, if you want a timetable, you email me. I'll send it to the mentor. He can call you and then figure it out with you. But everybody has limited amount of time in the day. Okay. So can I now break and we come back and do previous year questions and answer writing? So I have asked one question. Anshika, I have not seen that question. Post it again. I've already chosen, so that I thought watch yesterday's class not opening. I thought problem on my phone. Again, Uday, I don't know. You email me. I'll get it. Technical team. I'll forward it to you. Division of French and Japanese you put pressure on 3 state model taxation. Indian subcontinent into 4. And Indians will prosperous. Is case in equality? No. The point is that the unit of India is not one unit, it's multiple units. So there may be conflict. France and Japan are much cohesive units. That's the difference. My first year graduation completion, I take sociology as minor. Yes, why not? You can take optional. Please describe about PSIR, benefits of PSIR. Abul, you've taken PSIR, na? Very good thing. कोई दवाई है that I tell you the benefits and demerits. If you've already taken it and you are not confused, then go with it. Benefits is you cover GS, but the benefit doesn't matter. Because if you don't understand PSIR, then what you will do with the benefits? Understand this point. Don't be a Britisher. What is the point of it? Nobody, there will be benefit, there will be disadvantage also. Then what will you do? I'm asking you in your life for the first time to take a informed decision independent of anyone. Independent of anyone, take a decision. That is it. But you have to stand by that decision, irrespective of whatever it may be. So don't look for benefit and cost. Don't be a utilitarian. Don't be John Stuart Mill. That I'm going to weigh. No. I'll tell you, people used to say that you cannot top with history optional. People used to say that. But a student of history with interest in history topped it. It's about how good you are in that subject. It's not about what is the advantage and disadvantage. All of the subjects give standard marking. Obviously, in mathematics optional, you can get 99 out of 100. But in history optional, you will never get, for example, 99 out of 100. But mathematics optional, I challenge you, go do differentiation and integration. So everything has a best optional is objective optional. But can you actually do mathematics optional? That is the best optional. That was, understand my point. Take a decision for yourself, looking at the exam pattern, the questions, your aptitude, your understanding. Okay, I would be the first one to say that. People tend to sway students towards certain optionals. I am telling you, don't get swayed. Take an informed decision. Like you take for the food you eat, like you take for example, the phones you eat. Looks like I'm technically giving you the lecture out of the Jawan movie, but the point is that use your mind into this. That you have to take it yourself. Not someone else will come and tell you that take it. That is the wrong strategy here. I've seen students take options because their seniors made notes for them. So they said, "Kaun notes banayega? Let's take it and write it." It can work for you. It may not work for you. For GS level examination, can you read my book? Yes. Ancient, medieval, modern. Everything which is GS level, and for even mains, you can read my book. That will be enough for that. then you don't need to go to 3 books. You can only read 1 book. Totally your call. Okay, optional relevant. I understood the topics. I am able to continue. And I've already had how to create continuity, revision. Essay evaluation copy takes time. Yes, taking time. You can email me, I'll get it sorted. My graduation back to fashion designing, ending up taking sociology. Sure, why not? I'm faced with the same issue in recording. If there is issue, technical issue, email me, I'll try to get it resolved. Okay. UGC net NTA UGC net paper 2 history Pearson publication. Can one of you just go and give me the link from Amazon for this? I'll push it to the group itself. Pearson publication. NTA UGC net history paper 2. Ancient medieval art, ancient medieval, modern, all three together. The questions may be not relevant for you or the previous year questions because they're net, but the material, the chapters themselves are very, very important. Amazon, Alina, look for a book, Pearson publication, orange color. It will have my name. Don't buy someone else's book. Okay, when will your modern history class start? From tomorrow evening. I think Aniket has sent a link. I'll pushing it. Then what about Baiju's book? Jesse Shraddha, don't buy my book. Read the Baiju's book. What I have always told you, I am not forcing you to read that book, and I'm not asking you. It's totally you between you and me. Simple, straightforward is PPT plus NCRT is a must. After that, whatever your Shraddha Bhakti in modern India is, you go to that book. Be it Spectrum, be it any other. What reference books can be used for ancient medieval art and culture? Oshin will discuss that there. Because Nitin Singhania, you cannot remove. I'm in the process of writing an art and culture book, separate issue altogether. And till that, Nitin Singhania is a necessary evil. PPT, NCRT plus that Bipin Chandra, Satish Chandra is important. You can substitute it with my book if needed. Okay, I think made the link public. See, 6th class NCRT is for ancient, 7th class NCRT is for medieval, 8th class NCRT is for modern. Then 10th, 11th, 12th is not relevant. 12th class part 1 is ancient, part 2 is medieval, part 3 is modern. Can we take a break? Yes, Mahima, it includes ancient, medieval with modern. The book name I told you. Mil gaya book link. That this just send me the link of the book. I'll push it to everyone. Okay. It would say Shubhangini Priya Abhishek Mishra. I should purchase is a wrong question asking me. What do you want to say? What do you want me to say? You're asking the author that should I buy your book? You tell me what should be my answer. Book name Palak, UGC net paper 2 history Pearson, orange color. It will say Shubhangini Priya and Abhishek Mishra. Yes, Priya and Mishra. Yes. Okay. Now, क्या बायजूस वाले कोई स्टडी मटेरियल? Mohan, wrong question to ask me. Now, can I take a break here? Because I want to come back and discuss previous year questions. Are we all clear? The students who send me the doubts and the doubts generally which I've been able to satisfy your doubt, thirst and hunger? Yes. And I hope the optional discussion has been fruitful for you, because people tend to push you in different directions. I'm trying to tell you, don't get swayed like that. Okay. Ocean, separate issue altogether. You again email me, I'll forward it. There is an issue, I know that. I totally know that. Till that, I'm here to figure it out with you. I know that. I am actually cognizant of that issue. Okay. I am done with the optional, but my question was, should I start full length tests? Alternative day. इतने question ही नहीं होंगे. Optional 2 to 3, 4 mocks or 2 mocks or 3 mocks a month is good enough. Class will be till 9:30. Yes, till 9:30. The question: I was doing lecture 9 recorded live classes over 10 minutes. Prepare class recording, reload to watch. Okay, you will get mind maps also. You will get the flow charts also. You will get the timelines also. Okay. Previous year questions crucial. We'll take a break here. Take admission 8 months. Okay. The students who have issues, you can always email me. I'll try to get it sorted. I know the issue. I am cognizant of it. So I know Oshin, I know Ayush, I know Anshu. I know that. I'll forward it. We'll try to get it resolved. Okay. 7:36 it is. We come back at 7:50. The last one. Because of the political culture. Every ruler in India knew that in order to survive in India, you had to be tolerant. So, unity and diversity is something which always has been part of the fabric of Indian society, not because of the scriptures. Rather, those scriptures would be dividing more than uniting. It's because of the political nature. I know there's some error which you are telling me, VTT error which is there. I'll get it sorted. I forwarded it to the team right now only. By afternoon, it will be sorted. Don't worry. But UPSC, we cover boundaries of entire Indian syllabus. The way you teach us history, not interesting. Okay. When Diwali holidays on Sunday is on Sunday. Can we talk about the previous year questions now? Yes. Only one day. You want 4 days. Okay. Now, the first thing which we have to see is what type of questions have come previously. And as I told you, previously you could get 3 to 4 questions. But in the recent past, in the past 2 to 3 years, it has gone from 0 to 1, which is that the questions from world history modulate between 0 to 3 based on the pattern, but more or less we are getting one question out of this area. And that is why I asked you not to really emphasize world history right now, but I'm going out of focus, but to actually just understand world history with me and then revise after the prelims examination. That is your strategy vis-a-vis the overall context. So let's look at the 2020 2013 question, because here you saw the 3 basic questions which you could find, very standard questions which you can find. So first is the latecomer advantage question, wherein you have a question which is asking you, how is that the experience of other states or other what we call as nation states was different based on the latecomer advantage. So I'll give you the way how you approach these type of questions. For example, latecomer industrial revolution in Japan involved certain factors that were markedly different from what the West had experienced. Now, very simply, this is asking you in the Japanese context, how does the latecomer advantage actually work? So, how is the Japanese experience different? So, you have the introduction and body conclusion. You already know that. I have told you not to write introduction, body, conclusion in the examination. You have to keep this in para form. This is point-wise form. And this again in paragraph form. Now, para point, para, why I'm telling you? Because what I want from you is clarity. And clarity will come only when you are in point wise when it comes to the body, because then you will not waste words. Thereafter, in the introduction, you have to talk about how the industrialization of Japan was not going forward or was delayed because of the aspect related to the shogunate system. Shoguns, they were not allowing Japan to change conservative order. And thereafter, in the body, we'll talk about the Meiji restoration. Then how, because they were latecomer advantage was there, they did not go for what is the textile revolution. They straight away went for what we call as the heavy industries phase. And then reverse engineering, zaibatsus, students going to the west to learn technical education. You have specific uniquenesses of Japan which you have to actually talk about, and conclude by arguing that in a way, yes, the latecomer industrial revolution in Japan had a certain difference to the West, because in the West it was based on how the enclosure movement did it, or how France and Germany imported everything, or in a way smuggled all technology. So this question, from where do we get flowcharts we're talking about? This question very simply is a certain type of question, and that type is that they want to check if you can apply your knowledge of the industrial revolution. So after going through what we have gone through in the past 35-36 hours, it doesn't seem that this is a difficult question, because we already know the unique experiences. Now you can change the word Japan for France and Germany, and I think you would be capable of writing the answer in that sense. Yes, if I ask you the latecomer experience of Germany, of France, you will be able to write it if this question is modified and asked. Okay, perfect. So this is the way, and you will see every year industrial revolution one question will emerge. Second, Africa was chopped into states artificially created by accident of European competition. Analyze. Now, this basic statement is describing what? What is it describing? Come on, tell me. Yes, very good, Chaitanya. Very good. It's called the scramble for Africa. This is called the scramble for Africa. Exact definition of scramble for Africa is this only, which is African states fighting with each other, rather European states fighting with each other over the African continent. So Africa was chopped into states artificially created by accident of European competition. This is the point I told you, that the Europeans started to fight amongst themselves to get what they wanted to get. So now the point is, this is basically referring to, yes, very good, Chituri, which is Berlin Conference 1884. In this type of question, you can talk about in the introduction how Africa was a very resource-rich continent with multiple tribes and multiple sultanates. It was the cradle of civilization. And then in the body, you will then go into specificities. And those specificities will be the fact that how there was an inter-imperialistic rivalry. They were fighting amongst themselves. You can talk about the reasons why they were fighting: for slaves, for the concept of resources, and other than that, the fact that it was a very big market and a raw material source. And then say that the boundaries which we see today, in Africa were systematically created after 1884, once the Berlin Conference happened under Bismarck's leadership, and the scramble for Africa was concluded by basically artificially dividing Africa into certain portions which were part of this competition. So in order to disagree, or in order to destroy this competition, they were trying to very simply artificially divide. This is again a question, 150 words. It's a question which needs your application of knowledge. They've given you a statement which basically describes the answer itself. So in a way, if you look at the question, isn't the answer already given in the question? The answer of the question is already in the question itself, because it is telling you, tell us how Africa European competition. These two words, as you see, automatically you can deduce what is the concept itself. So European competition is the key word here. Very good, perfect. Now comes how do we conclude? You conclude by basically telling them the importance or what is going to happen in the future, which is, you can say that this scramble for Africa was very important. However, it is also the cause for all issues in Africa today. Or you can talk about how Africa will never remain the same after the scramble of Africa and all issues today. You can just talk about the significance or legacy in that sense. But there's no set rule. It's totally on you. So if you revise, the questions are not out of the box. You will see the question will become better only. The questions which are coming now are actually better than what they used to ask, because they are very interesting questions in analyzing your stance of world history. And now I hope you're understanding why do I teach world history in a certain way. I really don't care about the details. I want you to understand that whole concept itself. Then third question is the American Revolution. You can talk about the menace of map making. Sure, why not? The American Revolution was an economic revolt against mercantilism. Substantiate. Mercantilism is a type of imperialism, and that is merchant-based exploitation. Were the Americans exploited through trade? Yes or no? Priyanka has already given the answer. Very good. Yes, they were being taxed. Navigation Act. So you can, in the introduction, say that the viability of America as a colony was because of its connection to the triangular trade, and the navigation acts were being used to control trade in America, and therefore the Americans throughout their existence as a colony were always being exploited by the British. Now, is the American Revolution a revolt against mercantilism? Yes. You will say that after the 7 Years' War, the appetite of the British has increased for taxation, and once the taxation reached to direct taxation of everyone, that was a tipping point for the Americans. And then just tell them the acts, that the Stamp Act led to this and that. Basically, connect everything. So very simply, this is a question on causes. They've played with it, and just the context has changed. Just the 1 second, I'm again for some reason going out of focus. 1 second. I'll get this sorted also. My camera is changing the focus for some reason. Okay. So paragraph, point, paragraph. No set answer. You can write whatever you want to write. Now, late cover industrial revolution in Japan is different West had experience. Yes, obviously, because Japan industrialized the last, and they had already seen what had happened in France, Britain, and in what we call as Germany, and therefore they just took everything which was good, no trial and error. And as it is, their experience was totally different, because they had to go to the Meiji Restoration, and they had to go import based, Zaibatsu based, sending their students to the West. So that was, yes, totally different understanding. So 2023 is the benchmark which you see. Thereafter 2024. This is the most interesting question I've ever seen. UPSC actually gave a very good question and checked if the students understand the syllabus well or not. Which is, yes, you can write any answer in history without dates. Why not? If you don't remember the date, write century. That if you don't remember when did the American Revolution happen, say late 18th century, American Revolution happened. The examiner will not penalize you for not remembering the date. It's not an exam which is school level. They want you to see it. That are you clear with regards to concepts? That's a separate issue altogether. Okay. What were the major political, economic, and social developments in the world which motivated the anti-colonial struggle in India? Now, this question needs a separate slide itself. See, the question is asking you, how is world history connected to modern India? Connected to modern India. Now, very simply, you can talk about here. You have to choose your different moments, because there's too much to write here. So you have to discuss political, economic, and social. First, start with economic because that is the most concise, which is talk about industrial revolution and talk about deindustrialization in India and talk about the concept of what we call as one second, yes, we call as the concept of deindustrialization, commercialization of agriculture, drain of wealth. So link the industrial revolution this way. Then talk about social because till social it is manageable. These 2 points have to go. Socially, you have to talk about how the Enlightenment played a very important role. Then also talk about how the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, not Russian Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and the American Revolution created certain ideas which had an impact on the psyche of the people with new vocabulary. Now you can go into political. And in political, there is a whole plethora of things which you can talk about. You can talk about, for example, Carnatic Wars. Carnatic Wars linked to the Austrian War of Secession and 7 Years' War. Then you can talk about, for example, Mysore War. How as soon as the connection between Napoleon and Tipu Sultan was becoming stronger, Fourth Carnatic War happened. Thereafter, you can talk about, you can go from one period to the other. The more you go towards the national movement, you will find even more. Socialism, the HRA becoming HSRA. Gadar movement, Zimmerman plan, and the First World War. Defense of India Act, Rowlatt Satyagraha, Rowlatt Act. Khilafat movement, non-cooperation, the Treaty of Sevres. You have the August Offer, Cripps Mission, Second World War. The decolonization of India itself is linked to the Second World War. Thereafter, you can talk about, for example, Young India movement, Abhinav Bharat, and Young Italy movement. You can talk about multiple things, multiple. You have the Home Rule League coming from Home Rule League of Ireland. You can talk about Gandhi's South African experience. You can thereafter talk about the timing of CDM. You can talk about the timing of Quit India. You can talk about Simon Commission. All are linked to the what is happening. The fact that we were given independence by Clement Attlee. Why was it given in 1947? All are linked to the larger ebbs and flows of world history. So here you have to actually control yourself and write only the events which can be written in 250 words. Here, there's no set answer. But the students who asked me in the first class, what is the purpose of world history? You see, this type of question tells you what is the purpose of world history, which is our anti-colonial struggle is very intricately linked to world history. Now, for this type of question, structuring is important. That is true. If you structure the answer in your mind first, what will you write and what are the events which you want to write, then only. Don't think as you write. Because then what will happen is then you will chronologically break. Can't be writing about, for example, Cripps mission and cabinet mission first and then be talking about, for example, Gandhi. Be chronologically correct so that it seems that you understand modern India also. This checks how good your modern India is, and this also checks how good your world history is. And this could be a type of question which could come very easily in that sense. This is a very ingenious way of asking a question and checks the knowledge. This was the googly question that year, needed a lot of understanding of the core subjects in that sense. So 2020-2014 question clear? Yes? No issue? Okay. Now the next question is also very interesting. It says, why did the Industrial Revolution first occur in England? Discuss the quality of life of the people there during industrialization. How does it compare with that in India at present? Now, this is a 2015 question, so this present means 2015. Now, till this point, the paper question is good enough. Why Britain? Everybody knows. And the social impact of Industrial Revolution. I don't think you are not capable of writing this answer. You can tell them why Britain, enclosure movement, agricultural revolution, productivity going up, this, that, good location, and that is fine. And quality of life is inequality, poverty, destitution. Now, why am I saying that the next part of the question is problematic? Because how does it compare with India at present? What type of approach do you take here? Yes, Akshita. What type of approach do you take here? How does it compare with that of India at present? What type of approach? What do you talk about here? Work-centric, hectic life, issues, slums, industrialization, land is less. Is asking you social impact. Circular migration. Nee, see, how does it compare with that in India at present? The thing which I'm asking you is, obviously they're asking you the social aspect here. How is the quality of life of people in India? And you can't take both extremes, which is that you can't say that everything is fine, everything is perfect, there is no labor issues in India, there is no slums, there is no inequality, there is no poverty. On the other hand, you can't also not take the other story of, or the other aspect here, which is that that everything is bad, the government of India is useless, they're not managing everything, too much poverty, too much inequality, we are dying, the world is going to end. You can't write that also. So either extremes you can't take. So you can talk about the fact that because India is also based on an industrializing nation, the quality of life shows similarities, which is that yes, there is poverty, there is slums, there are inequalities, there is nuclearization of family, and there are issues which are there in the labor market. But a very important line needs to go in the end. A very important line needs to go in the end, which is, however, the government of India has been working to bring in schemes and different policies which undercut and try to make the quality of life of Indians better. So don't say that the government of India is doing nothing. Try to in a way balance the approach. Balance the approach. Very, very important. Because balancing the approach will tell you or show the examiner that you are not a negative personality, that you hate the government of India. Can't be too optimistic saying that there is no issue itself, and can't be too negative also. So you have to balance it in between. Why would you talk about Claudia Goldin and all? Who is talking about labor? Is the question asking you about labor code? In 2015, this question, where does Claudia Goldin come from? This is the issue. You all are telling me work ethic, work anxiety. You are talking about issues which are, you are talking about corporate ethics. This question is about corporate ethics. This is not corporate ethics. It's asking you about the issues related to social existence. So don't try to bring in your social issues into this. It's a very specific question about the realities of industrialization. Do we get the question 2015? As it is, there are 3 questions in 1 question. Only 2 to 3 lines has to go, nothing more, nothing less. Prince, again, industrial revolution never happened in India. So you can't use the word industrial revolution. You will have to use the word industrialization. Government is obligated to take care of citizen and population explosion, immigration, as same in England, limited agriculture necessity. First, never write government of India is obligated. They are obligated to do nothing. You also know that. So the government of India takes initiative to take care of the people of India. Don't write in like a entitled person that how will the government not do it? This is not SBI that you're fighting with that person, that how will you not do it? So government of India is not obligated. The word obligation is wrong. Has a negative connotation here. So the government of India is taking initiative. That's a separate issue altogether. These 2 words change the meaning of that line itself. Can we discuss how India is balancing with revolution? Understand one thing, India never had the industrial revolution. It's still not having the industrial revolution. India is industrializing. Therefore, the issues of capitalism is what you need to mitigate. Okay. Don't have to talk about mixed economy. Don't have to talk about these things. Why? Again, you are complicating that whole concept. They are asking you about the life of the people. Why are you telling them the economy of India? Read the question closely. Again, you are giving me things which don't matter for the question itself. Please understand this point. There has to be a specific answer which they're looking for. This, how does it compare, is not compare of industrial revolution. It is about discuss the quality of life. This part is linked to this and this part is linked to this. It's not linked to this way. Read the question properly, not randomly. What is the difference between industrialization and industrial revolution? So basically, I told you the whole story of Mahabharata, and now asking me who is Arjun. So what is the difference between industrialization and industrial revolution? Come on, tell me. What is the difference between these two? Tell Oshin what is the difference is. Oshin, you were there in IR chapter, module number 4. Can we write about nationalism and political awakening? Again, why would you write? Why would you write about political awakening and nationalism in this question? I'm not getting your thought process. Why would you want to write nationalism and political awakening in this question? Are they asking about that? They're asking about quality of life. Quality of life is related to political awakening and nationalism. It's only asking about social realities. The difference between industrialization and industrial revolution is when there is labor migration, then it is called industrial revolution. If only secondary sector is outperforming primary, it's called industrialization. So, Oshin, when you were there in that class, then why do you don't remember this? So, when there is structural transformation, labor movement out of primary to secondary, it's called industrial revolution. When there's only one part, it's called industrialization. This question is the easiest you can ever get in the examination. But what a lot of you are doing is you are giving the third part of the answer literally irrelevant. And this is how you will not get good marks. I don't understand why do you want to introduce topics which are not even related to this question itself. How social factors, it is asking about social, not political. Can I move to the next question? Yes? Okay. Now, to what extent can Germany be held responsible for causing the 2 world wars? Discuss critically. Now, this is basically asking you the role of Germany in the First World War and the role of Germany in the Second World War. Can we say that World War I was solely based on German action? No. And the way you explain it is the tendencies. That the Germans were not fully responsible for the First World War. It was the Serbians. And thereafter, there were certain tendencies in Europe which basically made this war mushroom into the World War. The Second World War, is Germany solely responsible for the Second World War? Sir, if so many things, if we write answers in positive manner, if not also about government, then how examiner will give marks? See, don't start to worship the government and don't start to destroy the government. You have to take a very straightforward middle approach, both balanced. The answer to the question that the Second World War is Germany solely responsible for Second World War, you're saying no. The answer to that is yes. Hitler started the war and he is responsible for fighting the war itself. There are factors behind it. However, he is the one who solely started it. So Germany being responsible for the First World War, there are intricate details in the background. But in the Second World War, they are solely responsible. They are solely responsible. Whatever be the backstory, was it Hitler who attacked Poland? Yes. Isn't the instigator of war here Germany? rather than other country, and then it becomes a proxy war, which basically becomes a war in itself. So in the first part of the answer, you have to say that it is the Germans who are basically part of a larger politics. And in the second part, you have to discuss they are solely responsible. Hitler was solely responsible. What kind of introduction can go? Very simply, you can talk about how the two wars was very important moment in world history. That the First World War and Second World War are two watershed moments in world history, as they always change they change the power politics of Europe and the world forever. So let us try to understand the what we call as causes or the responsibility of Germany in both these wars. Conclusion is going to be just repeating the fact that the Germans are not fully responsible for the First World War, but fully responsible for the Second World War. For third question, should we start third? Which is the third? Should we start from Czechoslovakia, Poland? No, you don't. They are not asked. They don't care if you know about Poland or Czechoslovakia. They don't care. By saying that you have to talk about Poland, because Poland triggers the war, not Czechoslovakia. But the point is, it's not asking you, do you know it is Poland or Czechoslovakia? It's about what critical. Discuss critically means you have to talk about both. Critically means positive and negative both. Critically is that you have to discuss the positive, which is Germany being a victim of the politics, and negative, which is Hitler being the Hitler. So I'll discuss these directive words with you, don't worry. Thereafter, in 2016, we got a question. The anti-colonial struggles in West Africa were led by new elites of Western educated Africans. Now do you get it? Why did I ask you to remember Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, Azikiwe? Because if you don't remember certain names, you cannot write this type of answer. The answer is very straightforward. You have to talk about how they get opportunity to go to the West. They learn the ideas of the Enlightenment, this and that. And the Industrial Revolution allows them to understand how it is. The Western education opens up their mind. They are the ones who come back and then talk about nationalism. India also was a very important part of it. But the problem is that if you don't have the names, you will not be able to write this type of answer. So these type of questions, however, have stopped coming, which is since 2016, we've seen much more interesting questions than actually these type of questions. So this is a purely factual question. But as I said, if you can remember that table, you can actually answer that question easily. Other than that, how does a national movement work? You already know. You know modern India. So you can basically make it was 150 word question. So you can easily make anything. What is more interesting is the two questions which have come, like 2017, 2018, we had no question. 2019 it came, 2020 did not came, it again 2021 it came. So it is alternating for the past 4 to 5 years. Now you see, look at this, the 2019 question. Examine how the foundation of the modern world was laid by the American and French Revolution. This is a very interesting question. Somehow the American and the French Revolution, the UPSC remembered it after a very long time, since 2013. Straight away after 6 years, they've asked the question. And it's a very easy question. For you, what is the foundation of the modern world, or what are the foundational values of the modern world? What makes the foundation of the modern world? What are the values which make it? Liberty, democracy, freedom, very good. Constitutional government, justice, equality, very good. Fraternity, very good. Separation of power, very good. Republic, social contract, constitutionalism, representation. Now, as many words as you know, write them down. In the introduction, say that the values which make the modern world are the following, and let us see the origin of these values in the American and French Revolution. Now, talk about the American Revolution. Liberty, freedom, representation, no taxation without representation, the concept of economic nationalism, the fact that you are fighting against a concept of a colonizer, social contract, constitutional government is something which they wanted, First Republic. And second, then you can talk about the French Revolution. French Revolution is the mother of fraternity, the concept of liberty again, the mother of all constitutions, the Declaration of Declaration of Right of Man and Citizen. And over and above that, you can also talk about how it gave the ideas of Napoleonic codes. It also gave the ideas of administrative changes. It can also talk about French Revolution. You can talk about multiple things. That it gave the ideas of French, the fundamental rights. It gave the ideas of equality before law. It talked about the concept of how people are the power is in the people, how the bureaucracy is actually responsible to the people. Every point which is given in the Declaration of Right of Man and Citizen, you can write it down. So here again, there's no one answer. There's no one answer. There is actually a whole set of issues which you can understand subsidiarily. Everybody is going to write a different answer. Can we include capitalism here? Why would you include capitalism in French Revolution? Why would you include capitalism in French Revolution? You tell me. Why would you talk about, if you are even trying to put in capitalism as a value, does capitalism emerge in American and French Revolution? Then why are you writing an answer which is self-contradictory? Again, not even Russian Revolution. A Russian Revolution happens in 1917. These are 1776, 1789. Firstly, never break chronology. Don't randomly push things. And second is, when you are talking about an answer writing concept, why are you writing a value which came into existence later and then cannot be justified by American and French Revolution? This is called strategic writing. If you will say that the values of the new world, of the modern world, is industrial revolution, AI, machine learning, along with that geopolitics, China, then how can you say that it came in the American and French Revolution? Industrial revolution hasn't even happened properly. So this is how you write a self-contradictory answer. You are saying that the values of modern India is capitalism. Modern world is capitalism. But then how can you justify that American and French Revolution are the ones which laid the foundation for the capitalism or capitalism itself? You tell me. This is what the impulse you have to stop. Stop showing off in the examination. Because what you're trying to do is you're actually trying to show off. That, see, I know capitalism also. I know Russian Revolution also. I know socialism also. I know this and that also. But is it really answering the question? This is what you do in international relations also. They talk about Pakistan, you will tell them about China also. They talk about US, they will bring in China and the Pakistan also. They're talking about Quad, and you will start to talk about BIMSTEC, and you will start to talk about, for example, the One Belt, One Road initiative. Don't try to mix it. Takdis, that is paper to for net. That is the way that whole. Don't worry about that. The point is that you do not need to write answers which already are trap for you. This is why it takes you 1 hour to write an answer, because you go in a certain direction and then you realize, oh, I can't answer the question only. It is the significance. The question is on significance. But please understand this point. It's not just about significance. It's about the fact that how it is complicated. Answer the question, not the topic. Getting my point? Herein lies the art of answer writing. The art of answer writing is being specific to the question. I'll give you a very simple example for this. I'll give you a very simple example. I give you a question. I give you a question which says the American and the French Revolution, though very significant, are failures in their own right. Or we talk about the French Revolution itself. The French Revolution is a significant event, however, fail in its own self. And I give you one more question. SME, American Revolution is 1776 to 83. The second would be, that is the War of Independence. 83 they get independence. The second asked question would be that Though the French Revolution was a failure, it is a significant event. Now, these two questions sound the same, but have a totally different emphasis. The first question says that the French Revolution is significant, but it is a failure. And the second question says, though a failure, the French Revolution is significant. I've just changed the order of the words. Which is a question which is negative in connotation? This one or this one? First or second? First question is French Revolution is significant, however a failure. Second one is though a failure, French Revolution is significant. The negative connotation one is the first one. The second one is the positive connotation one. And if you will write the same answer for both, you are basically not writing either. In this question, you have to talk about the fact that it is significant, but how it did not achieve its targets. And in this, you have to talk about that it did not achieve its targets, but it is significant because it gave the world a lot of things. So in this, you have to talk about the failures more. In this, you have to talk about the significance more. Try to understand the questions. Wording change very quickly. The art of answer writing, the first prerequisite, the art of understanding the question also. If you understand the question, you understand half of the work is done. Most of you don't read the question properly. You are like, Acha, it's written American Revolution. I know the American Revolution. Let me write about the American Revolution. Don't do that. This is not college. This is not school. Can we move to 2021 question? Okay. Now, 2021, there arose a serious challenge to democratic state system between. Kishan, keep that thought with you. Why was indentured labor taken by the British from India to other countries? Have they been able to preserve their cultural identity? This is an optional level question. Even if this basically this question is not of history, it's not of world history. It's a modern India question. It's a modern India question. Indentured labor, British, and cultural preservation. That's a modern India question. It is not an anthro question. It's a history question only. It's a modern India question. Basically, why was there for indentured labor? Because labor shortage was there across the empire. Second, the concept of indentured was that Indians were also ready to or wanted to run away from the existence of the economic realities of India. And there were someone were duped, someone were also what we call as in a way preserved their identity. Now, how do you talk about preservation of cultural identity? It is like Fiji, Mauritius, mostly Fiji and Mauritius, along with some parts of Sri Lanka, which were the major areas for indentured labor. The Polynesian sector, Mauritius sector, and Sri Lanka used the way they preserved it, and Caribbean islands also. It's called creolization of culture, which is that Indians preserved their own understanding of culture and brought in the other cultures together. So through song, through literature, through gastronomy, food, they were able to preserve their culture. So that is the point. That question is not a world history question. That's a basic question of what we call as modern India. Now, again, I'm disappearing. I'll talk to the team about this. The focus is changing for some reason. Okay. There arose a serious challenge to the democratic system between the two world wars. Evaluate this statement. This is the latest question which have come. Okay, interwar period. I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. First, let's finish the what we call as previous year. How does a serious challenge emerge to democratic state system between the two wars? Very easy, very easy. This is not the question of Russian Revolution. Between the two wars, which is 1919 to 1939, first serious challenge to democratic systems came from fragile democracies itself. That ethnically diverse countries were made into democracies, and they were also given in certain cases proportional representation. You can talk about how Germany and France, Germany and Italy both had proportional representation, and basically the democratic systems were threatened by democracy itself because of the choices which they made. Then you can talk about, for example, second, how the Great Depression created the context in which socialism became big, and that allowed fascism to rise. So the biggest challenge which came to democratic systems was fascism. And basically to talk about how fascists use the revenge strategy of the people and then break democracy from within. And you can easily say, for example, that both Hitler and Mussolini were elected, and then thereafter they broke democracy from within. So very simply, this question is asking you about the concept of democratic state system, the concept of how it was challenged. And the challenge is basically coming from the fascism, from Great Depression, from the Treaty of Versailles itself. So here again, you have no set answer to write. But what this checks for you is that you understand the concept of how Hitler and Mussolini are fascists. It's a question on fascism basically. And that is why I told you that democracy is always fragile. Democracy always needs protection. And that protection came from or was coming from the fact that the citizenry has to take a call. We protect democracy. The people of India protect democracy. The people of Italy and Germany were not able to protect democracy. Both democratic, both proportional representation became dictatorships because of the Treaty of Versailles, because of the Great Depression, because of the situation, because of the fragile democracies. So democracy was generally threatened because of the Treaty of Versailles and its arrangement and fascism. So this is again a very ingenious question. It is about wider connotation. Are you able to understand this point? That why did I say that course doesn't matter? None of the questions I've asked you, tell us how Brinny did this. Tell us how Robespierre did that. They are not asking questions which are basically based on event-based analysis. They're talking about the event itself. If you can talk about Czechoslovakia, you can talk about Yugoslavia, you can talk about how Poland was threatened, you can talk about Austria, Hungary. Totally your call, Priyanka. Understand this point. These are called open-ended questions. These are called thinking questions. This is truly checking how good you are in understanding what we today call as the concept of answer writing, evaluation, critical thinking. Because these questions, facts don't matter. What matters is what is the connotation of that fact. So now that we've gone through the questions, can we come to the conclusion? Or would it be safe to say, or would you now trust me in saying or understanding that there is a certain way in which the examination is asking you questions? And more than that, what matters is course significance, for example, rather than the course itself. I've demonstrated that to you. And why am I telling you this? Because tomorrow morning you start a journey with me. And that journey is called Ancient Medieval Art and Culture. And in the same way you have trusted me here, you have to trust me there also. Because based on what is the basic trend and the pattern, what I'm teaching will suffice generally. And more than that, no unnecessary thing I will ask you to learn generally. So we've done previous year questions, we've done the questions which you sent. Are we all on the same page with regards to that? Okay. Now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you again a small breather. But what I want from you is in this 10 minutes, gather your thoughts. I've discussed a lot of things. I give you one last time again to ask me doubts in the chat section. Once that is done, we'll come back. I'll discuss those chat questions and I will discuss answer writing and the directive words. Clear? I'm giving you these 10 minutes because you will not get a chance to ask me again with regards to world history again. So you please assess. Last time I'm giving you a chance. to ask me something which you want to ask. Rather than you listening to me and trying to think also, gather your thoughts, think about it. If you really want to ask me something, ask me. Then I will go into answer writing. I will give another 15 minutes to answering your questions, and then I will be happy to talk about answer writing, specifically directive words. Clear, everyone? How Russia became superpower. Russia was never a superpower. Russia was a big country. USSR was very big and very powerful because of Stalin's way of developing it. Right? Okay. So it is 41. It's 8. I'm technical issues. You email me, we'll get it sorted, not an issue. Don't have to make maps in the examination. Why did Mussolini capture South Italy even if it is under the control of the French? Because he did not want to take a chance that the Spanish come and take it back. 9 countries nuclear power, but other countries don't develop for their own safety. No, it's not that. Because of nuclear non-proliferation, nobody was given access to these things. Britain, France assert themselves on Vietnam when people want Ho Chi Minh. How? Because they are the ones who are removing, or the Japanese. That is how colonial powers really work. Elements to keep in answer: political, social, economic. Doesn't matter, Deepika. It's about the question, what they're asking, what is the purpose of that question, what is the need of that question in that sense. Okay. In Marshall Plan was money given as loan, not donation, loan. How to stay motivated? I'll discuss that. World war effect all over the world, but more economic problems faced. Who told you? The World War effect was Japan did not face specific problems. Japan survived the Second World War. They were the most aggressive. That is why they were the ones who were made an example out of it. Fascism is basically ultranationalism, anti-socialist, the concept of using propaganda, cult of a leader, and trying to project power in that sense. And we'll talk about unpredictability. See, UPSC is unpredictable. Everybody knows. How do you decide? See, 25% of the paper will always be unpredictable, but 75% is predictable. Concentrate on this, because what students do is called paper chasing. They chase the paper. So if there's a new thing which has come in the examination, they will chase it. You would have seen it. For example, once UPSC asked how many states are there between 2 points in India, and thereafter every mock test, everybody started to now count states in India. However, the problem is that after that UPSC never asked that question. So it's called paper chasing. That unpredictable part is which you stay away from. You rather do what you can do, which is to make your predictable part or the standard part so powerful that you don't have to actually worry about the unpredictable in that sense. Industrial revolution impacted deindustrialization by basically India was deindustrialized to create a market and to also remove any competition from Indian weavers. The concept of proportional representation is that in both these countries proportional representation was used, wherein vote share was used, and therefore there was no majority for governments. What is the predictable part of prelims? Every major, see, in every subject, be it economics, polity, history, geography, in all these big four, out of the 20 to 25 questions which will come, 15 will be always be manageable. 5 to 6 will be problematic. 25 questions are always difficult in the paper. 25 questions. Students tend to judge their performance by the 25 questions. 75 questions can always be done by basic current affairs, basic understanding, basic predictable application of knowledge. But you mess it up because of this 25%. Gautam, because when India is now trying to become a superpower, the world is very different. Firstly, we have environmental regulations on us. This world is not in a way properly balanced. We started from a much lower point. We were a colonial country. That is why. Don't ask me to summarize whole modules. That is not the question I'm asking you to ask me from. Proportional representation is in democracy. There's two systems: first past the post system. Get more than the next candidate and you become the winner. For proportional representation is you get it as per vote share. Without military, there is no country. Who said that? There is no defense of a country, but sure, why not? You can have a nation state without a military. Why Japanese ruling power in hands of military? Because that is the way they industrialized, so therefore the military became powerful, they captured power. How many revisions are required for 2024? That is totally on you. 3 may be enough, 4 may be enough. 3 may be enough, 4 may be enough. It's just that how comfortable you are. Mocks need to start by February. Tushar, write your doubt. There is a lot of volume of questions which are coming to me. I cannot see it. So just write your October Revolution, October Manifesto. One happened in 1905, one happened in 1917. October Manifesto was the drama of Nicholas II. October Revolution is Bolshevik capturing power. Very different to each other. What we follow for, yes, president's election, proportional representation. When we will, prelims test series will start, I think by February we start. Totalitarianism, neo-fascism, all fascists are totalitarian. Totalitarian means control of full society, total control. Kishan, if Prince Tesiri Sarmat sir says starts 3rd week of December, then that is correct. I'm predicting it. If it is starting in December, he's the authority on that. Is there any other source from where I can practice mocks? The PTS is going to be enough for you. Marker words. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Now, can you suggest how to fill the gaps? Deepika, that is how you have to revise. The more you will revise, the gaps will be filled. Revision. Learn once and revise multiple times, and you will never ever forget. 2 to 3 revisions are needed. Now, before we get caught up in these questions, let me discuss the marker words. See, one thing is very, very clear, that answer writing is a skill. Answer writing needs practice. And for practice, you have to go through multiple, it's a way of learning something. First, you will take 1 hour, then you will take 1.5, then you will take 45, then 30, then 15. The 3 things which you have to remember in answer writing very clearly is, firstly, be very legible. Don't have an handwriting where you're basically writing for yourself, that you understand what you're writing, but the examiner doesn't. Legibility and handwriting is a very important thing. People can say anything, but aesthetics matters. Some students, when they start to write, they write very well. By the time when they're under time pressure, they start to write anything. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that is counterproductive. Second, the second most important thing is grammar is important. The examiner will not link A and D, and don't start to leave conjunctions. That you start to write Gandhi went South Africa, came back. Don't write like that. Write full sentences. Please have to be grammatically correct. Third, do not have spelling mistakes. I have seen multiple spelling mistakes whilst in university level. I've seen it here also. Chori chora becomes chori chori, and jinnah becomes jinnah, and you can multiple spellings. I've seen students writing wrong spellings of Gandhi. So don't do that. If examiner could not treat, the examiner doesn't care about the spellings. But if you start to write like this, jinnah or jinnah, I've seen. If you are going to do spelling mistakes, that shows a level of immaturity, that you are basically don't care if you're writing right or not. So Hitler is Hitler, write Hitler only. Know the spellings of basic things at least. America spelling is wrong. France, you are writing, for example, it's Louis, Louis, but you will say there's one spelling like this also. You have to be a little bit careful about that. Don't know the spelling, don't write the name. Please, don't do these 3 cardinal mistakes. Grammar is incorrect. Thereafter, the spelling is incorrect. And thereafter, one more thing is incorrect, which is that basically you have written it in such a way that you only understand what is written. Do not waste time in changing pens. And nobody cares about your pens. Don't use pen and pencil together. Try to underline with only one pen. I don't care which brand of pen you use. There are certain people who even tell you which brand of pen to use. Pilot V5 best pen. I hated that pen. That is the most useless pen you can take. As soon as you apply pressure on the nib, it will start to basically bend. I don't care if you use Pilot or you use whatever it is. It should be a pen which makes you comfortable. It should not be that you are writing and your hand is going forward and the other end is that you're resisting against your pen itself. So be it 10 rupees, be it 50 rupees, be it 2 rupees pen, doesn't matter. Don't take a pen in which the refill has changes very quickly. I've seen people trying to save money on UPSC pen only. They'll take that 2 rupees pen. Oh, the ink survives only for one answer. So you will take 20 pens with you. So don't do that. Develop your own. That is totally your call. I am not an advocate for any pen company. So your pen is your pen. Right? So Uniball you want to use, for example, Pilot you want to use, Reynolds. There is no good pen and bad pen. Pen is a pen. But don't buy a 1,000 rupees pen and then you can't throw it. And for God's almighty, don't use an ink pen. Please. Because if a disaster happens in the examination, it will literally spill over in the whole paper itself. Ballpoint or gel, doesn't matter. Pen, paper, handwriting, grammar, and basic understanding. Making diagrams is not important. Maybe in geography, it may be important in art and culture, but not in history. So if you are trying to change pens, what will happen is you will basically mess it up. Use one color pen, that is more than enough. Black pen, blue pen are the two. Don't be too funky in using green and other type of red color. No. No experimentation. SAR experimentation is not to be done in the mains examination. And start to develop and try to find your pen right now, because you have to write a lot. Writing is the biggest thing there. When I used to be in the university, we used to write within 3 hours 40 pages. 40 pages. 20 sheets. So the students who are from humanities background, BA honors, BA political science, they would know. 40 pages we used to write in 3 hours. So for me, writing is not an issue, because over the 3 years, my writing speed was quick. But it took me 3 years to come to that pace, at least 1 year for sure. So if you are going to think that I will save my hands, muscle na khich jaye, that I get a hamstring injury here, and don't write before the examination, for sure the hamstring will be basically broken in the exam. The more you use it, the better it is. Are we clear with regards to the basic ground rules? These things people will not tell you, I am telling you. These are very basic standard things which you need to know. Very basic things. Okay. How to upgrade writing speed? Hand hurts like hell if I write one answer. Write more. When you run, your legs hurt. But if you'll run every day, you will become an athlete. Same way, if you'll write one day, this part will hurt quite a lot. This will become numb, but later you will learn to know how to make this numb. So it hurts for everyone. Nobody is born with a writing speed of writing 250 word answer in 7 minutes. So and that is why I'm telling you pen matters, because certain pens tend to stop your writing. You have to, and please, if you are a calligraphist who makes very beautiful A's and B's, stop your calligraphy, because the examiner doesn't really want how you write. It's about being legible. And if you're writing like this, then you will never be able to finish the paper only. So don't do that. No cursive writing. If you have a problem in your handwriting, change it. Change it right now, there's time. Okay. My writing speed is very good, but my answer context is not. So you know how to drive, but the problem is you go and hit someone. This is what you're trying to say. That मुझे चलाना आता है, but the problem is I always hit somebody. That is also a problem. If your writing speed is good, then you don't know how to write. That is also context. The problem is, Anjali, then you would not be answering the question. Try to for once only try to answer the question. The more you will read, the better you will become. The more you understand the purpose of the discussion, the better you answer you will write. When you don't know anything about it, then only the context will become problematic. How to improve speed? Practice, practice, practice. There is no ghutti, there is no chamanprash, and there is no potion I can give you and you will increase your speed. Speed, skill, writing, everything needs practice. Now, coming to the directive words, how to be more specific about the answers. Look at the question and then write it. You will always be specific. Don't try to link things which are not linked, or don't try to give too much information. You have to control yourself. As I always say, try to answer the question and you will never go above the words. Any trick to remember for long? Again, there is nothing for that. Revision. It is a proven fact, Harvard study, proven scientifically, that a person's memory cannot last more than 5 days. What you will remember today, if you do not try to revise it, you will only remember 5 days. That too, I'm saying short-term memory. Long-term memory, it will not even go if you don't revise. So in order to remove any form of issues, it has to be revision. How to remove Gajini effect? Now try to understand this point. A lot of you, as of right now, I'm speaking to you and you would be distracted. Something or the other would be happening around you which you find interesting. Gajini effect can only be removed, which is not remembering what happened 5 minutes back, if you start to concentrate. Concentrate and focus and you will never forget anything. But the problem is, because I'm in a screen speaking and coming out of a speaker, I can't have an eye contact with you. So what it is that you would be most probably holding that phone, tablet or laptop, whatever it may be, and you would be fiddling around, looking around when the match is on, checking the score, eating something. And then what happens is I will say, this is a very important topic. And then you will write, repeat, sir. Realize some kuch miss ho gaya. So we understand the students. I've taught thousands of students in 6 years of Delhi University. So I know how you operate. So I know that in class also. Fidgeting, suni nahi rahe. They're zoned out. Stop zoning out and concentrate. That is why I tell you, stop making notes in class. Listen to me. Concentration is what makes you what you are. Now, directive words, before some of you get a heart attack that I'm not going to discuss it. See, there are certain directive words: examine, explain, analyze, elaborate, demonstrate, substantiate, justify, comment. Elucidate is also the same thing. Elucidate. Anything else? Any other word which troubles you? Any other word? Describe. Critically, I will tell you what critically means. Discuss. Critically analyze, evaluate. Evaluate is basically briefly discuss means small. Comment I've already written. Yes, Rashida. Okay, now there's no question I've ever seen which says enlighten. Tell me about it. Enlighten I've never seen. That UPSC examiner asking you to enlighten him is too much on his ego. Okay. Now, examine. Examine, explain, and analyze and evaluate. These Three are very close to each other, but have little bit of difference. See, explain is to explain how and why. Basically, explain the process or give main points which describe how and why. Examine is a word which is used for it wants larger perspective and overall impact or significance. Examine the implications of Doklam issue on India and China. So it's about understanding the larger issue. It's about the larger issue. Analyze is give points which evaluate the situation, the concept in its entirety. Meaning that here you have to analyze on a certain aspect. How is that aspect linked to that other aspect? Analyze how India and Pakistan can, rather, we'll say the non-presence of Pakistan in the IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Organization, is fruitful for India. Analyze. So now you have to link the fact that how Pakistan's presence is good for India, and therefore you have to analyze these two aspects. You have to evaluate these two aspects. So these three are similar to each other, but the emphasis changes a little bit. Thereafter, you have the standard elaborate. Here, you have to show through main points or examples and prove the point of the question. India needs to go beyond, rather, let's take a world history, that Germany was not fully responsible for the First World War. Substantiate. So now give them examples to show that Germany wasn't responsible. So you prove the point of the question through giving them examples or certain supporting arguments. It's about giving supporting arguments. Here again, it is about giving argument for or against. That is on the basis of the question. The most dangerous is comment. Comment is your take on the issue after analyzing. What do you think? Do you think this question, do you think and comment are the same thing? Do you agree? Or do you think? Now, in this question, the problem is that what you think may be dangerous. So your real self, if it comes in the examination, it could be good or bad both. So that is why middle path is important. So comment mein don't think that the UPSC is asking you to solve that issue. Look at the tone of that question and comment accordingly. If it's a positive, comment saying that yes, and if it says negative, no. Don't try to become emotional here. Bhavuk nahi ho jana that you start to give everything. So the comment aspect is last conclusion, one line is going to go. Now comes critically. As soon as you see the word critically in front of any of them, critically examine, critically explain, critically analyze, critically justify, critically comment, it means both positive and negative have to be given. Both positive and negative have to be given. And last is discuss. This is the easiest, which is give standard arguments and points. Nobody is asking you to analyze. Nobody is asking you to comment. Just give standard points which are related to the topic. Do you have to say yes or no? It's on the question. Yes. If you say, do you agree? You have to write yes or no in a way. Assertiveness has to be there. So are we clear with regards to these directive words? There are two keywords in the question which need to define. Again, I have never seen a question which has two keywords. Discuss the India-China issue, substantiate. I've never seen that type of question. If that question has been made by an examiner, he's dumb. Because you can't have two aspects to the same question. That Germany was not responsible for the First World War. Substantiate and critically evaluate. That type of question won't come. Sir, our opinion must be included in the conclusion, not except for only in comment question, not in any other else. See, please understand this point. Agree with the examiner. If you don't like it, still have to agree. That's the basic point. Recently, questions are defined flipping, reverse flipping in webinar. Define flipping, reverse flipping. मैं पहली बार सुन रहा हूँ flipping क्या होता है? Recently, question was define flipping, reverse flipping in the webinar. I don't know what question you are trying to ask me. Okay, it's an economic terminology. So that question is define flipping and reverse flipping. So it's two phenomena you have to define. So where is this? Where is the second word in that sense? In normal answer, we need neutral. Yes, you always need to be neutral. No positive, negative. Don't give negative until unless it is asked. Only in critically questions. Comment takeaways. Can we use takeaways? Sure, takeaway you can take, but comment. You can talk about takeaways in the comment. Sure. Today's last lecture of World History. Yes, Mehul. Good morning. When we have to agree with examiner, then politician, then why are we trained to think critically? Vechri, this question you asked when you become education secretary. That aisa kyun? Why? Don't ask me 3 idiots type Ranchor Das Chanchar questions. That if they want us to agree with them, then why are they asking us to critically? No one cares. Become an IS officer, sit in that chair, and then these big words and big lines make sense. Till this point, if UPSC says that the sun comes out of the southern pole, it is true. You can't challenge things. Don't try to rebel. So don't do that, because a IS officer is not a person who doesn't believe in the government or rebels against the government. You like it, you don't like it, you have to work for the government. So critical analysis, you're not a journalist, you are a bureaucrat. They're two very different things. So please understand this point. Then the UPSC is not recruiting critics. Nobody likes to be criticized. I sit there and criticize you, you will not like it. So why do you think that UPSC is going to recruit people who say you are useless, this is wrong, that is wrong, मैं critically think करना चाहता था, तुमने नहीं करने दिया? You will think that. Doesn't really matter. So there is fundamental rights. I know it. You have the right to think, sure, but you are giving the Union Public Service Commission. So you already know what you're getting to. So basically, you know that you want to become a government servant. So don't become the master of the government. This may seem to be very pessimistic view, but this is the pragmatic view. Because what happens in the process of basically preparing for UPSC, students start to become constitutional specialists. Never use politician names in the examination. Even if you have to use the name of the Prime Minister, write Prime Minister. Never, ever be politically oriented in the examination. That is also not good. Who is getting the paper, you don't know. Will there these type questions discussion after all GS related? Yes, Jandu, we discuss it. We have mains answer writing. You every month you have one mains answer writing webinar. If you don't know it, yes, it is done. If you know it, good. Sir, can we write way forward in 10 marks question? Yes, why not? Every conclusion is way forward. Never use politician names. Maximum you can use the name of our Prime Minister. Other than that, I would not ever recommend you writing names of politicians. So how the answer sentence based question which do not have keyword? How the every question, be it quote question, it will always have a keyword in the end, or it will have it somewhere. Try to decode it. It will be discuss or something, and then keyword is always there. You have to know it. You didn't know it, Chandu? Every last Thursday of the month, you have an answer writing webinar. Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. Last Thursday is always answer writing. Illustrate, outline. Illustrate is the same as elaborate. Outline is the same as discuss. Summarize is summarize, which is basically discuss again. Give an account of is again discuss. Anjali, these are words which are just synonyms to each other. In essay writing, I have an issue. I'm writing long sentences. That's not a bad thing. Essay writing, 1200 words you need. So if people are saying long sentences are bad, but it can't be that you are writing a sentence which is 20 lines long. 2 to 3 lines is good. That shows your understanding. Sir, how to stay motivated? Okay. You've been asking me this question, so now I understand it is very critical for you. Low days is very hard to push and overcome. Now understand this point. See, nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody said it is a laddu that you will eat it and you will become an IAS officer. It is difficult. I'm not saying that it is not difficult. The day you will realize that you're a human, you will stop being harsh on yourself. Second thing is, any day when you don't like feeling okay, you don't study. But don't break your study. One day you only want to watch something. But next day you should be back with 100% commitment. It should not be that you are for ab har din padhne ka man nahi karta. That's a problem. Then that is a problem. This examination wants consistency, wants discipline, and wants interest. So how to remain motivated? Remember, when you started, you knew that you could clear this examination. Everybody would have certain types of pressures on them. Don't look at the pressures, use them as motivation. The point is that obviously everybody is under pressure. Obviously you will not be able to remember. Obviously there will be days in which you will think, what am I doing? But that day you sure take a break, but after that break you have to be back. Maybe meditation helps. Maybe people are too impatient to do meditation. I'm not that person who will say meditation solves everything. I'm just saying, you watch a movie, you will listen to music. Resting for in the day 1 hour is also not a crime. I told you about industrial time. That is why I tell you that don't be too harsh on yourself. A student who has realistic targets, will never be demotivated. If you will think, I will study, they will make a timetable. 12 hours I will study, sleep for 4 hours, and then again I will study for 6 hours, whatever it may be. So they will make such a type of timetable that is not possible. That is not possible. So make a timetable which is realistic, and make targets which are realistic. I will finish art and culture. Nitin Singhania, I will start today. Tomorrow I will finish. No, Nitin Singhania himself can't do that within 2 days. What the problem is procrastination. You think I can cover this much in a certain period of time? No, make a certain target which you think can be covered. Yes, I can study polity 3 chapters today. 6 chapters, nobody can do it. I will do whole ancient in 1 day. That I can't do. How will you do? So realistic targets and time management is what is the name of the game. That is called stress management. No, 4 hours is not enough for sleep. First things first. Don't inculcate this bad thing in you, which is, see, before the examination, 1 month, 2 months, sleeping 4 hours is okay. But if you will do this for a year, you will become a zombie in the examination. You will go blank. 6 hours at least you need to sleep. 6 to 8 hours circadian cycle, literally scientifically be proven. Everything in your short-term memory goes into a long-term memory when you sleep. So if you are sleep deprived right now, either mostly you are like this and you have no idea what is happening, and I'm a guy who's just screaming in front of a screen. That should also not be there. Sleeping for 12 hours is also problematic. Any extreme is problematic, have to be straightforward, have to be realistic. So if you are going to make realistic targets and realistic timetables, you will always meet your targets and you will remain motivated. 6 to 8 hours, no issues. After that, don't try to become too unrealistic. That is the biggest. There's something called sustainability. Sustainability is the name of the game. If you can remain sustainable in your timetable, in your way you're learning, this is called discipline. How to overcome mental pressure? Mat lo. That is the easiest I can say. But I know that there is a lot of issues. The fact of the matter is you need to understand one thing. If there are factors which can hold you back, it is mental pressure. Mental pressure would be either you are creating it on yourself or someone else's. So if someone else is, you need to cut them out or become a little bit immune to it. If you're yourself biggest critic, then you need to cut yourself out also. You will start to overthink. You will also start to create mental pressure. In the examination, one question you will not be able to solve. The whole world is going to revolve around you. That up to this is going to happen, this is going to happen, my uncle is going to say this, my auntie is going to say this, familial pressure, this, that, plan. Understand this point. That how will I show my face to the people? How will I go back to my home? These questions are not to be answered in the exam hall. Either answer them right now or after the examination. Exam hall, when you're preparing, don't question yourself itself. So don't do that. That my family sacrificed everything. They did not do. I sacrificed everything. I should have watched that movie. I love this. I love that. These existential questions should not come to you in the exam hall or preparation phase. Everybody is sacrificing. Everybody is giving up something. Everybody is under pressure. You are not alone. Please understand this point. You take too much time to complete that topic. But next time when you do it, take less time. If you are taking 3 months to cover a certain topic, it's okay. Why do you want to do it one? Everybody is taking 3 months. Don't evaluate yourself with others, but I'm telling you, I'm looking at close to 10,000, 15,000 students in a year, and I know that all of you are the same. Everybody has an issue in their family. Everybody has familial pressure. Everybody has mental pressures. Everybody has career pressures. Some of you are working professionals, some of you are students, some of you are something for sure. And everybody is under pressure. So if you will let that come to you, then the problem is you've already lost the battle. It's very easy for me to say, but it's not that I have not given examinations. Past 12 years, 14 years, I have also given examinations, thousands of interviews. But that doesn't mean assistant professor, UPSC, other examinations. That doesn't mean that I don't know what it is. But what I learned from it is I'm telling you that if you allow your thoughts to enter at the wrong moment, it will only make sure that you fail. Make sure that you fail. Recordings are not playing. I will get it sorted. I'm telling you something important. Issue is totally different. And it will play. There's a glitch. It will come out. If it's a server issue, it will be sorted. But take tension of things which really matter. Things will automatically sort out itself. You need to create your own understanding. And understand one thing. UPSC aspirants, when they clear the examination, they become gurus. But if they ask them before they clear the examination, they would be clueless. So don't watch videos of other people motivating you, because their journey is not your journey. So everybody who clears this examination becomes a specialist and becomes a guru. They know everything now. But if they had no idea what was actually happening to them. So there is no set pattern. You don't have to be extraordinary. You don't have to do more effort than anyone else. Be it disciplined. Nobody knows how to clear this examination until unless you have discipline and understanding. That is why I'm here telling you, do not do that. Don't read that. Do this, do that. Trust people who matter, and don't trust people who tell you you can't do something or not do something. That is the basic point. This is not a pravachan which I want to give, but the basic point is there will always be people who will be the Britain and France of the world, and you will be Germany. But don't be Germany of the First World War. If you understand what I'm telling you, then you understand world history. Don't be the Germany of the First World War, because there will always be people who will be jealous of you. They are waiting for your wrong step to be taken, and they will take an advantage and do a Treaty of Versailles in your life. So they can be your parents, they can be your relatives, they can be anybody. You have to make sure that you are immune to these things. And I'm not saying that everybody is the same, or everybody's parents are the same, or everybody's life is the same. But it is the same if you look at the larger picture. We are humans, we all are the same. Can I now see you tomorrow if you have to do ancient medieval? Can I see you tomorrow and we end world history today? Done? So I see you tomorrow. We start ancient medieval art and culture. The world history course is over. Last class, doubt section. We've discussed previous years. We've discussed other things also. So thank you. I hope that you found world history useful. You'll get a feedback form by either in the evening or you've already got it. It would be good that if you send us the feedback of the class, not of the other things, of the class. And I will see you tomorrow, same time. And this journey is going to be long. This was only 10 classes. That is 24 classes, which is ancient 7, medieval 7, 10 classes, art and culture. So till December, you are with me. So we return back and come back to India, and we start ancient medieval art and culture. Anybody who wants to do modern India, evening batch modern India is with me. You have to choose between, I think, geography and history. Totally your call. But history, evening batch is modern India. Morning batch is ancient medieval art and culture. And weekend batch is also modern India. See you. Take care and bye-bye.